Is it really alright for us to not make a move? Mu Wuyu and Mu Huiyu simultaneously turned their heads back. Xuanla Feifei's delicate finger twirled a lock of her black hair. She looked at the chaotic battlefield. The prehistoric Liao Emperor Yelu Hui's abrupt rebirth indeed made Fairy Xuanla quite surprised. Just how powerful the legendary transforming star of Annihilation realm was, Xuanla Feifei did not know, but she nevertheless could discern that the Yelu Hui, Wuyan Guang, and Yi Chongbao before her eyes absolutely were not as simple as transforming star of Annihilation stage. That sort of feeling was just like a star general. We are not a match. Xuanla Feifei shook her head. Although she was unwilling, it was necessary to concede this fact in front of them. The number 1 Martial General Wuyan Guang's martial arts were outstanding. Even the Mu assassins would be hard-pressed to find an advantage in close range, and that Yelu Gui and He Chongbao watched like tigers. A rash attack would instead ruin their lives. To be able to shine above the rest in the star duels, what Xuanla Feifei relied on was precisely her shrewd ability to evaluate the situation. Let alone that only Chao Gai is capable of handling this Liao Emperor, perhaps even she is no match. This fairy wonders what that Maiden Mountain will do. We are no more than traces of true spirit, and we have our own mission. For now, we shall monitor the situation, Xuanla Feifei emotionlessly said. Mu Wuyu and Mu Huiyu were a bit reluctant. Xuanla Feifei turned her head back to Mu Qingying and Mu Yueying, saying, "Both of you sisters watch carefully. This is an extremely rare opportunity. As assassins, the most important thing is to completely understand the capabilities of your assassination target. When the 3 territory star masters make their move, the victor will inevitably be king. If you can grasp their combat details, this will be an absolute help in your future assassinations." Bing Qingxian cupped his fist and reverently thanked her. Was Chao Gai not admonishing us to not meddle in others' business? Why not listen to her this time? Xuanla Feifei ruthlessly smiled. The heaven-earth dark yellow thousand pagoda appeared, radiating Buddhist light, temporarily suppressing the arrogance of both sides. Very quickly, a beautiful girl appeared in the yellow light. She was none other than Thousand Buddha Star Chao Gai. Yelu Hui. If you meddle in the star duels, this one absolutely will not tolerate you. Quickly stop this at once. Chao Gai's tone was strict. On Wu Xingjia's side, blue-faced beast Yang Zijin had already withdrawn to grandfather Li's side to guard him. Wu Xingjie had been knocked back by the power of Yelu Hui's exchange with Emperor Liang and the others, stopping for the moment. Upon seeing Chao Gai appear, Wu Xingjie was not surprised. In fact, even though Long Nu did not attract her attention, hearing Chao Gai's words, the knowledge star still felt a slight change take place. Chao Gai apparently was familiar with the Liao Emperor Yelu Hui. At least, she knew of her existence. Her seemingly strict tone nevertheless hid slight astonishment. "Who are you, to unexpectedly dare command the great king?" Wu Yanguang snorted disdainfully, absolutely not placing the Thousand Buddha Star in her eyes. She raised her spear and attacked. The 1,000 pagodas' profound light flooded, filling the heavens as a giant net that twisted towards Wu Yanguang. Wu Yanguang violently slashed, yet this was not as relaxed as before. The layers of Buddhist light were like a bog, wrapping around her whole body, preventing her from displaying her full power. The great Liao's number 1 martial general was shocked. She knew then that this Chao Gai was powerful. In realm, she was on par, maybe even a level higher than herself. As expected, Maiden Mountain has also come. Wu Yanguang laughed, springing upwards. The spear slashed a ray of light like a galaxy. This magnificent light ray directly slashed. Cultivators in its way were torn to shreds before they could even react. The light extended to the ends of the Crystal Dragon Palace and slammed into the barrier with a rumble. Chao Gai formed a hand seal. The 1,000 pagoda shot out a ray of yellow light that wrapped around Wu Yanguang and tried to absorb her into the pagoda. He Chongbao read an incantation and used star magic. 100 dazzling runes soared about. The 12 blood shadows became 72 blood fiends in a split second. These blood fiends were dreadful. Cultivators that so much as touched these blood fiends were dead with no body left behind in an instant. The 72 blood fiends devoured the yellow light and freed Wuyen Guang. Then, the blood light enveloping the crystal dragon palace attacked Chao Gai. Waves of blood rolled along the way, fiendish qi surged. Even the supervoid cultivators took a few steps back in fear, feeling terrified of the He Chongbao who killed as if human life was like grass. Chao Gai's long hair fluttered. Her hair then turned into a golden color, each strand radiating Buddhist light. A star crest appeared on Chao Gai's forehead, and the heaven-earth dark yellow thousand pagoda hovered above Chao Gai's head, releasing unending light. This brilliant Buddhist magic split off into 144 rays of yellow light. Every 2 rays each seized one blood fiend. The 72 blood fiends surrounded Chao Gai, yet they were unable to advance one single step. He Chongbao added more magic energy and battled against Chao Gai's magic. The others were unable to interfere. Chao Gai, this king asks you, just what are these star duels? Yelu Hui leisurely asked at this moment. Why descend into this realm? Could it be because of this king? You are Yelu Wuxin. 2. Chao Gai was awe-inspiring. You know this king's true name, huh? Yelu Wuxin was slightly surprised. How could this one not know? Of Star World's millions of star names, your northern Liao is considered tyrannical. 1,000 years ago, a member of the imperial family named Yelu Wuxin suffered defeat. Afterwards, she took the number 1 great general Wu Yanqin, 3, and the national scholar He Baoer and disappeared without a trace. Legends said that they fell to a lower realm. It seems that was true. This lower realm is actually very interesting. Yelu Wuxin did not change her expression. No wonder Liangshan continent's 100 supervoid cultivators were all unable to kill you. Chao Gai sneered. Is Star World Empress still that little girl? Chao Gai, you command 108 star generals. You are not managing those 4 great female traitor ministers, yet here you are in Liangshan continent playing some star duels game. What sort of farce are you putting on here? Yelu Wuxin thoughtfully asked. Chao Gai did not say anything. She fired off killing intent. This one shall ask you once more. Immediately stop interfering with the star duels, otherwise there will be no end to your troubles. No end to my troubles. This king is aware that you all came down from Maiden Mountain. This king just happens to want to properly appreciate you. Yelu Wuxin tore apart her friendliness and suddenly read an incantation. Her body bubbled with an overwhelming qi. This qi rolled with resplendent golden light, vaguely assuming the form of a true dragon, no different from Emperor Liang's true dragon imperial qi. True dragon qi. Emperor Liang took in a deep breath. It was no wonder that while she was in the along the river during Qingming, using the true dragon imperial qi for 1,000 years was unable to refine away the Liao emperor. As it turned out, she was also of the true dragon bloodline and similarly refined the true dragon like Emperor Liang did. It is a coincidence. This king was bored in the along the river during Qingming and inadvertently comprehended the true dragon while inside this profound painting. This king just so happened to want to ascend to Star World and take that empress head. Today, this king shall take your head as test, lackey. Suddenly, Yelu Wuxin thought of something and sneered. Maiden Mountain is star dueling here, could it be this? Saying this, as if subduing all of the crystal dragon palace, 1,000 qi long 9-clawed true dragon hissed forth. The other cultivators fell to their knees, and even Emperor Liang was stunned. Chao Gai knew its might. Her clothes fluttered, and the 1,000 pagoda protected her, bubbling forth Buddhist light. A golden light rushed around and illuminated the entire palace, like a candle flame in the night. In the Buddhist light, Brahmanistic chanting came with the wind. Several large true bodies emerged from within the Buddhist light. The Akala Wisdom King, the Kundali Wisdom King, the Yamantaka Wisdom King, the Vajrayaksha Wisdom King, the Trailokaya Vijaya Wisdom King, guardian deities of tall and large golden bodies all appeared. They obstructed the horizon, overlooked all beneath them, making a malevolent face, an angry one, a forced smile, a grim face, not one good expression. The wisdom kings were wrathful manifestations of Buddhism. They were formed of anger, unable to become merciful bodhisattvas. They could only become wisdom kings that protected the law, subduing all evil. Not only this, but other than the wisdom king law protectors, other Asuras, Vajras, innumerable Buddhas, and thousands of Brahmins chanted. She truly was the 1,000 Buddha star. The grand 1,000 Buddhas thus entangled the nine-clawed true dragon. What a 1,000 Buddha star! However, just you alone, this king honestly is reluctant to kill you. Yelu Wuxin shouted her praise. He Baoer and Wu Yanqin immediately joined the battle. Even if Emperor Liang and Wu Xinjie wanted to intercede, they were helpless. This was already more than transforming Star of Annihilation. This completely was a battle that only true Phoenix Realm Star generals could fight. What do we do? Yan Yizhen had brought out the 3 arrows lethal crossbow. The skillful Star wrinkled her brow. This was the first time she had felt stumped. This guardian of the Star Duels Chao Gai seemed to be in trouble. Wu Xinjie shrugged and smiled. Only as a resort should we use the 3 realms immortal movement pendant to save her life. However, before then, we should greet those demon kin. The knowledge star gazed at those white tiger 7 spirit stars and the other star masters of the 3 territories, showing a profound expression. As the crystal dragon palace was in chaos, a reign of terror, there was one place in the palace that nevertheless appeared particularly tranquil. Noble star little whirlwind Chai Ling leisurely reclined on a couch. She held Xing'er, her beautiful legs were exposed, and she had a carefree appearance. The only thing missing was a musician playing the qin. Regardless of the Liao Emperor's appearance or northern darkness has Fish's betrayal, Chai Ling contrarily appeared very indifferent. Her beautiful red phoenix eyes swept over the crowd. She was originally a bit worried, but after she learned from Shi Yuan that Su Xing had left the Crystal Dragon Palace early, Nobleman Chai was loath to even put on a single gesture of grandeur. As expected, Chao Gai still appeared. However, it seems that she is not powerful at all. Chai Ling wore an arrogant smile. Against the Liao Emperor and her subordinates, it appears Chao Gai is about to be defeated. Konghou sat beside Chai Ling, chugging on a large jug of wine. If there was a plate of food around, this would be a model spectator plot gag. To unexpectedly be able to see someone who can challenge Maiden Mountain, interesting. Konghou was apparently a bit drunk, her cheeks an intoxicated red. These White Tiger 7 spirit stars honestly had an exceptional plan, to unexpectedly exploit the Crystal Dragon Palace, to not only convince the Most High Path's #1 ancestral master to defect but to even unite the star masters of the other 2 territories. If it was not for Xing'er, these White Tiger 7 spirit stars would inevitably be the overlords of these star duels. Chai Ling praised. Konghou grunted. Perhaps no one would have imagined that the White Tiger territory would produce star masters, much less imagine a situation where 3 of the territories united, of course. Right, elder sister Konghou, can you break this barrier? Each of these connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls is considered a prehistoric spirit treasure. 24 is actually a bit of a problem. Konghou shook her head. Then you mean to say that at full power you could break through? Chai Ling asked in amazement. It is possible, however, the Crystal Dragon Palace would suffer a calamity. Everyone else would be buried at sea. Chai Ling originally wanted to rescue a few of the Star Masters, but she could only drop this. However, if that Liao Emperor defeats Chao Gai, Xing'er would also be in a bit of trouble. Chai Ling said charmingly. Konghou rolled her eyes. Chai Ling, you should direct your flirtations to that man instead. Your humble servant will not take your bait. This palace is merely feeling injustice on behalf of the sisters, that is all. Chai Ling pet Xing'er as she softly spoke. Your humble servant actually really wants to see Chao Gai flee in defeat. Konghou covered her mouth, her lips curling into a slightly cold curve. Then, what will Maiden Mountain do? Elder sister, however, Konghou stretched her body, her large breasts accentuated, her wonderful curve highlighted. To have Chao Gai flee in defeat ought to be done by your humble servant. Konghou licked her lips, carrying herself a bit drunkenly. Her footsteps appeared somewhat worrisome. But when she took her next step, Konghou had already vanished from Chai Ling's sight. Liao Emperor, you better watch yourself. This palace is suddenly a bit sympathetic towards you. Chai Ling cheerfully said. The heaven-earth dark yellow thousand pagoda emitted a brilliant light, enshrouding Chao Gai within. The Buddhist law protectors and Brahmanistic chanting continued. A giant wisdom king Vajra circled around the light, its hand gripping a devil-subduing artifact. It waved its hand, rolling thunderfire and golden light, intense to the extreme. That thunder, fire, and golden light was even more formidable than the outer void flying immortal swords. Even the great Liao's #1 Marshal General Wu Yanqin was hard-pressed to approach. He Baoer's blood fiends were occasionally shaken to pieces by those Buddhists, however, every disintegration would create a new one from nothingness, as if they were infinite, which was extremely terrifying. Seeing Wu Yanqin and He Baoer fall into a stalemate, the continually charming and delicate, leisurely Liao Emperor Yelu Wuxin who had been reading finally took action. She formed a hand seal, and her body emitted an amber-colored translucent qi. This qi ascended towards the 9 firmaments and descended towards the blue below. The 9-clawed golden dragon formed from true dragon imperial qi was far more mighty than Emperor Liang's. It charged at Chao Gai's 1,000 pagoda bearing a force powerful enough to make people prostrate in submission. It directly placed itself into the thunderfire and golden light. As if it set off a chain reaction, those thunderfire's explosions were increasingly intense. It jolted the earth and mountains. The Buddhist light was not originally that strong. It could only protect Chao Gai. The 1,000 Buddhas changing incantations covered the entire crystal dragon palace within the glittering Buddhist light. Those Buddhas, Asuras, wisdom kings, and Vajras each displayed their own abilities. How could a cultivator compare to this power? Chao Gai's forehead was engraved with a crest, and her long hair fluttered, graceful and imposing. This was the first time in all their lives that the cultivators witnessed a battle of transforming Star of Annihilation level adepts. Even Emperor Liang had never seen something like this. Everyone was dumbstruck. Ever since the star duels began, cultivators had more or less known of Maiden Mountain's might, but seeing for the first time 1,000 Buddha star Chao Gai take action, they felt this was far more stunning than what they had imagined. With Chao Gai's power, even Emperor Liang and the others united would have difficulty gaining an advantage. If Chao Gai was like this, then what was Maiden Mountain like? Chao Gai's beautiful eyes radiated golden light, glinting Dharma characteristics, a continuous match with auspicious light. But Wu Yanqin, He Chongbao, and Yelu Hui had originally descended from Star World. Although their cultivations had greatly diminished, Yelu Wuxin had unintentionally refined true dragon imperial qi in the along the river during Qingming. The three of them worked together, and Chao Gai's expression strained. A more than 100 zhang tall law protector wisdom king holding a Vajra Chan staff was struck in the chest by that 9-clawed golden dragon. It suddenly screamed and faded away into specks of light, vanishing without a trace. Immediately afterwards, Wu Yanqin's 3-layered armor pushed straight through with support from He Baoer's magic, slaying another wisdom king. The heaven-earth dark yellow 1,000 pagoda continuously rocked. The 1,000 pagoda law protectors were nearly about to be disintegrated by the true dragon's long-range attack. Just as the auspicious light became thinner and thinner, Chao Gai became increasingly anxious. In her worry, her mind surprisingly thought of Su Xing. Who knew from where this man came from? His conduct and deeds were universally shocking, yet he nevertheless showed enormous promise. The current him was completely capable of helping her face the Liao Emperor, yet she could not see him right now. Could he be so distrustful of this one? Chao Gai's heart was briefly bitter. Chao Gai, you are unexpectedly distracted. Courting death. As her mind wandered, she suddenly heard Wu Yanqin's sneer. Chao Gai thought to herself, oh, no. The 1,000 Buddha's protection already broke. Wu Yanqin raised her spear to attack. That smooth spear launched a bean-sized silver light, flashing. It grew dramatically, turning into a twin-headed silver wolf in the blink of an eye. It opened its mouths and spat out whip-like lights. "Watch this, fierce wolf devouring moon." The glimmering lights shattered, and the spear went directly for Chao Gai. Chao Gai fanned her sleeve, rolling Buddhist magic. The meditative mind lotus flower blossomed in midair, but the spear directly twisted it apart. Just as that double-headed wolf's mouth was about to devour Chao Gai, at this moment, a silhouette suddenly appeared in front of the fierce wolf. The figure spread its arms, grabbed that fierce wolf's mouth, and pulled upwards and downwards in both directions at once. With brute strength alone, the figure unexpectedly ripped the wolf apart. The fierce wolf immediately dissipated. Wu Yanguang was shocked, and she quickly withdrew, staring at the woman in front of her. The woman who appeared had a wonderful figure, graceful curves and beautiful lines. A pair of languid, clear pupils flickered with a kingly dignity. She was none other than Konghou. "Who are you?" Rarely did Wu Yanqin's expression stretch taut, and her hands could not help but grip tighter. In that instant's exchange just now, she clearly sensed the overwhelming martial arts of her opponent. This was the first time she had ever felt a sensation of powerlessness. "You." Chao Gai also showed surprised, having not expected Konghou to appear. "Don't misunderstand. Your humble servant merely does not like seeing someone without any power show off wherever she goes." Konghou was calm as if she was stating a very normal fact. The woman looked at Wu Yanqin without any contempt, but with a senior's chiding tone. "Little sister Wu Yanqin, if you want to ascend Maiden Mountain, then you will only bring disgrace to yourself with this sort of strength." "Ha, ha, ha, ha." Wu Yanqin cruelly smiled. She gripped her weapon even tighter. This general wants to see just who is the arrogant one. Wu Yanqin leapt. In an instant of haziness, a red figure was like a rolling dragon, flying about with terrifying speed. Countless spear shadows rolled and shot out, wrapped in intense killing intent. An air-shattering shriek filled the crystal dragon palace. "Dragon kill grind!" Wu Yanqin shouted. Countless rolling rays of killing intent interweaved, forming 1,000 dragons, completely surrounding Konghou. It was completely impossible to evade this killing intense attack. Continuous and fierce roars endlessly echoed, as if they wanted to devour her. Wu Yanqin's natural warrior intuition allowed her to sense Konghou's frightening aspects. From the very start, she showed no mercy in her plan to kill her. From an outsider's perspective, Konghou had nowhere to run. Even the most top-notch of cultivators could not receive this strike. Konghou slightly raised her brows. Her hands slightly extended to her front and directly caught Wu Yanqin's dragon kill grind. "How?" Wu Yanqin was shaken. No matter how the 1,000 rays of killing dragons roared, no matter how fast they were, all of her attacks were like cows in the sea, completely ineffective. Konghou's hands waved, fluid and elegant. Even stronger output was a stone sunk into the ocean, giving her a sort of feeling she was unable to wield her own power. Just as she saw that her trump card was unable to work, Wu Yanqin's complexion changed. She could no longer bear this kind of useless attack. Suddenly, she pounced as well, relying on her 3-layered armor to close the distance, thrusting her spear directly at Konghou's heart. Z. 2. Just as the spear drew near Konghou's heart, she felt an invisible resistance, and she was no longer able to proceed further. Under Wu Yanqin's efforts, the speartip's airflow whirled into a gorgeous vortex, like a halo. Wu Yanqin concentrated all of her strength to a single point, doing everything she could to stab. This spear's penetrative power could split rocks as if they were clouds. Awe-inspiring spear light blossomed from it. A clear and crisp sound, a bang. Wu Yanqin felt her spear unexpectedly stop. Liangshan continent surprisingly had someone who could take her full power strike. Wu Yanqin felt disbelief, and in an instant, an unfathomable thing happened. Konghou mysteriously appeared right in front of her. Her palms grabbed Wu Yanqin with a subjugation stance. Wu Yanqin was fearless due to her 3-layered armor protecting her. Her shoulder shook in preparation to throw Konghou off of her, but Konghou then grabbed her shoulder. Instantly, Wu Yanqing felt a weight as if the 5 sacred mountains were pressing down on her shoulder. This weight made Wu Yanqing feel strained. The great Liao's #1 fierce general was shocked. She could not use even a bit of her strength. Then, in the next second, Konghou's hands seized her, and like a subdued true dragon, she was immediately punched away. A simple, unadorned punch smashed against Wu Yanqing's 3-layered armor. Bang! The powerful armor directly sunk in. The sound of the fist striking the armor seemed to be like a giant dragon's death cry. A mountain toppling, ocean overturning power rolled over her body. Wu Yanqing's eyes were wide open, feeling as if the bones and meridians in her body had been disintegrated. There was surprisingly no strength in her body. Under Konghou's punch, the martial force that she was so proud of seemed as ridiculous as a weak lamb. Wu Yanqing let out a blood-curdling scream. The power had punched straight through her armor and out her back, bursting out a clump of blood spatter. Konghou calmly and coolly retracted her fist, indifferent as a flower. Falling Dragon Boundless. The great Liao's #1 great general, Wu Yanguang, defeated. The air practically froze into a stifled stage. No one expected such a thing would occur. The prehistoric Liao Emperor's #1 fierce general Wu Yanguang was surprisingly defeated in one blow. That impenetrable armor was completely collapsed, and even Emperor Liang and the other top-notch cultivators looked at that languid woman with stupefied expressions. Unable to defeat even your humble servant, yet you want to go challenge Maiden Mountain? Your humble servant urges that you not look at the sky from the bottom of a well. Konghou acted as if she was saying something obvious. You are not a cultivator of Liangshan continent. The yellow Wuxin who had been holding her scroll changed expressions for the first time. Just who are you? You can just treat your humble servant as a passerby who saw the bumps in the road. Konghou smiled very amiably. This general is not yet defeated. Wu Yanqing roared. She sprung up, swinging her spear, slashing a cold and glaring arc of light. Without even looking, Konghou waved her palm. The wind from her palm directly twisted towards Wu Yanqing. Although Wu Yanqing was able to deflect it, Konghou already was beside her. So fast. Even the reaction speed that Wu Yanqing was so proud of could only see the instant that Konghou appeared in front of her. A sharp ray of light scraped over her. Her movements were smooth and fluid, easy as flowing water and drifting clouds. This woman completed an instantaneous change in speed beneath her nose. With a sway, she was already upon her. Wu Yanguang's left hand brandished a fist heavy as the 5 sacred mountains. Astral wind crackled, piercing through 100 li. The corner of Konghou's lips had a slight smile. She easily leaned, her body techniques brilliant to the extreme. She then swept her right leg upwards, sweeping it with a swift and severe whistle towards Wu Yanqing's head. Even though Wu Yanqing had already been extremely vigilant, she completely did not expect Konghou to still be able to kick and deflect the punch. This woman's movements were so profound, to unexpectedly reach such a degree instantly at such a short distance. Relying on those instincts that naturally came to powerful warriors, Wu Yanqing barely caught onto her opponent's movements, yet she had lost the key moment to defend herself. Helpless, she attempted to sweep her spear in a counterattack. A pity, for everything was in Konghou's expectations. As if she was levitating, Konghou's slender and beautiful legs were like a phoenix spreading its wings and soaring into the sky. As if she was flying in all directions, she then circled around, pressuring her very closely. Wu Yanqing suffered this head-on. From an outsider's perspective, Wu Yanqing was repelled again in only the blink of an eye. At this time, the armor on her body was already considerably ruined, like scrap metal, and the female general's face cut an exceptionally sorry figure. Her pale expression was fully livid and unsightly. Take this. The cold He Chongbao shouted, her voice like a clap of thunder, rolling into the ears and shaking the crystal dragon palace in all directions. Demons and monsters. He Chongbao's eyes flashed with a chilling light. 72 blood fiends suddenly took form, their appearances like devils, dragons, ghosts, and asuras. Caught in the middle of demons and monsters, the dragon palace sunk into bloodlight, the spectators incomparably aghast. Be careful, these are blood fiends formed from the demons and monsters' spell. Emperor Liang gravely warned. He recognized these as the main cause of what made the Azure Dragon territory suffer through a bloody carnage 1,000 years ago. These demons and monsters' blood fiends could multiply. Attacking them with flying swords and magic weapons would produce more and more doppelgangers. In the end, they could form an entire army, their offensive unstoppable, soaking mountains and rivers in blood. Only Buddhism's great mercy and compassion Buddhist magic could restrain them. It was precisely because of this favor from 1,000 years ago that Buddhism could keep their own independence in the Azure Dragon territory today, to not be disturbed. But because senior monk Four Noble Truths accepted a disciple, the disastrous loss of Buddhism's 6 patriarchs, not a single one of those top-notch Buddhist ancestors came to the Crystal Dragon Palace treasure banquet. The Buddhist disciples that did come were very few in number, but those that had truly comprehended profound Buddhist magic could be counted on fingers. Now that the demons and monsters' blood fiends had emerged, even Emperor Liang was somewhat worried about Konghou. This really is a coincidence. Your humble servant is somewhat versed in Buddhism. Konghou was unimpressed. In her indifferent beauty, she seemed apparently forever unaware of the word danger. Humph. He Chongbao sneered and formed a hand seal. 100 red runes appeared that attached to the blood fiends. They were like divine soldiers, their power unstoppable. The 72 blood fiends each rolled, and the thick bloodlight descended. Emperor Liang had originally thought to help Konghou, but although the true dragon imperial chi could stop the incursion of blood fiends, his divine intent would similarly be inhibited. He had no way to make a direct confrontation. Without a choice, Emperor Liang could only retreat. These blood fiends were indeed mighty. Konghou could not fully use her arms and legs for her martial arts, and even her boxing did not constitute a threat to these blood fiends. The blood fiends flocked close together to surround her in a ball of blood. If it was not for Chai Ling knowing Konghou's identity, she would have been somewhat anxiously thinking of using the red ink iron certificate to save her. Chew! He Baoer's divine intent moved. When the bloody dance was at an extreme, the blood fiends surrounded Konghou and endlessly nipped at her body. Heaven Earth Dark Yellow. Chao Gai pointed, and the Heaven Earth Dark Yellow Thousand Pagoda released light. The Buddhist light magnified, and a meditative mind lotus seed was superimposed in midair, blossoming to an enormous several zhang size. Chao Gai had thought to help Konghou, but just at this moment, the concentrated sea of blood suddenly flashed with a brilliant sword light. A galaxy split open, unexpectedly parting the sea of blood. Then, the demons and monsters' blood fiends surrounding Konghou shrieked as they dispersed. Chao Gai, your humble servant has not fallen low enough for you to take action. Konghou coldly responded. Chao Gai leisurely smiled and retracted the Heaven Earth Dark Yellow Thousand Pagoda. Ha! He Baoer was astonished, very shocked to see that Konghou had surprisingly broke free of her strongest magic so easily. Indeed, it was somewhat formidable. Your humble servant had no choice but to use her weapon. It has been so long since it was used. Konghou's line of sight returned to He Baoer. The woman gripped twin swords, each in one hand, her figure astounding. The twin swords in Konghou's hands were wrapped in a sea of stars, completely indistinguishable. That flickering sea of stars was blinding to the extreme, as if a galaxy had been pulled over the Crystal Dragon Palace. Those terrifying blood fiends appeared timid as ants under the galaxy / what powerful spirit. He Baoer stopped. Demons and monsters was to no avail. Konghou curled the corner of her lips. Suddenly, her eyes emitted seriousness. Her figure moved, directly rushing forth. Along the way, she drew a galaxy, a blooming lotus. Black sword chi twisted towards He Baoer as if to slay a dragon. He Bao instinctively told herself several times that she should evade, but her body nevertheless was completely unresponsive, rigid, and incapable of budging. Rather than say the speed of Konghou's maneuver was too fast, it was a bit more appropriate to say that her powerful spirit already made He Bao feel fear. The twin swords twisted. The blood fiends were simultaneously destroyed. The next instant, He Bao was entangled, her most powerful magic energy incapable of defending. Bao. Wu Yanqing rushed forward to block. But Konghou had no compassion to speak of. The sword tip directly took Wu Yanqing's head. Even if Wu Yanqing's body was indestructible, she had been conquered at this moment by Konghou's kingly and lion-like gaze. She had one sensation: she would die. Do not kill her. Chao Gai suddenly shouted. Konghou's blade fell. At the last moment, she held back. Wu Yanqing was heavily wounded by the slash. He Bao also received a reduced impact from Konghou's attack. Be at ease, your humble servant is incapable of killing her. An immortal and indestructible body has no limits. Chao Gai, the rest is up to you. Konghou pushed her hand, and a sword wind pushed Wu Yanqing and He Bao to Chao Gai. Chao Gai released the heaven-earth dark yellow thousand pagoda. Its Buddhist light rose to absorb the two. Wu Yanqing and He Chongbao were not at all willing to give up, but they had been heavily wounded by Konghou's strike and were powerless to struggle. Release them. Liao Emperor Yelu Wuxin was finally impatient and shouted furiously. Konghou showed a "make me" expression and said, "Your number one great general made your humble servant use her true martial arts. Your number one magic general made your humble servant use her weapon. Perhaps you, the number one Liao Emperor, can make your humble servant suffer her first defeat in 1,000 years. This king just happens to know of an array that can handle you star generals," Yelu Wuxin sneered. The scroll in her hand shook, manifesting a chain that flew about. Then, pillars rose in the four corners, and 108 stars fell to form a profound array. When this array appeared, Wu Xinjie immediately felt her body turn powerless, as if the star energy in her body had been sucked dry. Not only the knowledge star, each and every star maiden in the Crystal Dragon Palace fell to a knee, all of the strength in their body fading away. This situation was very much like when Lin Yingmei was caught in the Heavenly Cycle Northern Dipper Array. However, no matter how the star masters used star energy resonance, they were unable to produce any effect. The star crests on all the star maidens dimmed. Wu Xinjie's face paled. She was in disbelief. Taiyi Spherical Heaven Form Array. What is your relationship with Su Xing? Gong Kaiwei sat on a chair in one of the winding corridors of Bian City's imperial palace, gazing at the faraway green hills on the horizon. Leader star Zhu Wu stood beside her. The tall woman of well-rounded figure seemed like a statue. That delicate face seemed even more rigid than a sculpture's. Up until she heard this poor question, Zhu Sha's brows only then slightly shifted. The Ling Yan princess's light purple long skirt trailed along the ground, and she was also draped in a veil of purple silk. Her long hair was rolled up with a jade hairpin, leaving her brow with an even elegance and nobility flowing waters exuded. But her slightly puffed cheeks were nevertheless slightly incongruous with this noble air. A polite description was serious, but a more blunt was jealous. Gong Kaiwei glanced at Zhao Hanyan out of the corner of her eye. Friends. Kaiwei, is it really so simple? Zhao Hanyan seemingly smiled. This princess hears Imperial Uncle Gong complain all the time. He says that you normally are as cold as ice, Gong Kaiwei, that you keep people 1,000 li away. Countless princes and dukes, and even my imperial little brother, have all been spurned. Little sister Kaiwei, if you truly have eyes on my Su Xing, Hanyan will reluctantly relent, so long as Kaiwei does not dislike being a concubine. We are only friends. Gong Kaiwei calmly replied. Remember during the birth treasure outline, Hanyan even brazenly took action with little sister Kaiwei. It seems Hanyan has misunderstood that time then. Zhao Hanyan stared steadily in front of her at the girl who was cold as ice. That pair of clear and penetrating eyes made the Ling Yan princess unable to make sense of her. Does little sister Kai Wei not want to know what happened between this princess and Su Xing? So many very interesting things certainly happened between this princess and he. Zhao Hanyan took a step further, showing a sweet expression, but Gong Kai Wei was still unmoved. Her expression that seemed to say this had nothing to do with her made Zhao Hanyan a bit depressed. The Zhao Hanyan that had wanted to see Gong Kai Wei jealous turned a bit bored and did not pester her any further. She chatted with Dong Junqing, Lin Yingmei, and Ensuan about Su Xing's most recent developments. Their sense of familiarity with one another while chatting was inharmonious with Gong Caiwei's atmosphere of coldness. Speaking of what had happened to Su Xing all this time was a story full of thrill after thrill. However, still Gong Kai Wei calmly sat in the corridor, gazing into the distance. But that not very particularly focused expression more or less betrayed the girl's hidden distress. Zhao Hanyan thought of 4 words, as lonely as snow. This princess does not need to worry. This princess is much more interested in seeing who is so brazen as to dare cause trouble in the Crystal Dragon Palace. You have the intertwined branches. You had better stay at his side. Little sister Kai Wei, are you ordering this princess? Zhao Hanyan smiled and said. You both had better go together with me. A clear and sonorous voice interrupted the 2 girls. Zhao Hanyan and Gong Kai Wei turned their heads. The door opened, and a man with a sharp brow and glittering eyes walked in. He wore a white gown, appearing refined. Beside him were 2 beautiful girls, one wearing water blue underwear, her figure absolutely beautiful, and the other was full of a vigorous heroic air, beautiful all over. They were none other than Su Xing, Lin Yingmei, and Hun Yangzi. Big brother. And Suan ran over in delighted surprise. Su Xing, you recovered so quickly. Dong Junqing looked up and down at the man in front of her. His aura was flat yet sustained as a river. A person without discernment may have felt nothing, but as a 5 Tigers general, steadfast star general of double spears could see from a glance this man was out of the ordinary. Vaguely, there was unexpectedly the aura of a powerful martial general emitting from him, which was very surprising. Dong Junqing suddenly felt dry mouth. She could not help but unconsciously lick her lips. This man is feeling more and more like us star generals. Could it be because of the love you make to us sisters? The steadfast star's bare words made every girl present blush. Humph. This can be considered a rare sight across all the ages. Zhao Hanyan was a bit sour. Su Xing fake coughed and changed the topic. It felt like more than 2 months had passed as I was cultivating, that I didn't see you. It was only 2 days. Let's not talk about this for now. We'd better rush for the Crystal Dragon Palace. Su Xing looked at the stars in the sky. The formation appeared even more strange. Dear husband. Hun Yangzi suddenly looked straight at Su Xing. Su Xing's forehead burned. Several gorgeous star crests continuously superimposed and flickered. Something big should be happening at the Crystal Dragon Palace. With the strong rapport he had with Wu Xinjie and the others, Su Xing could clearly sense their situation. Each of the star crests on his forehead represented 1 star maiden. This concentration clearly made him suffer intense pressure. Could it be Emperor Liang and the others working together against you? Gong Caiwei's tone was detached. No, Father Emperor would not do such a thing. Zhao Hanyan did not hesitate at all to reject this. Su Xing actually was not too worried about something happening to Wu Xinjie. With Wu Xiao, Chai Ling, Hua Wanyu, and the others, even if they actually met with Emperor Liang's alliance, they still had the 3 realms immortal movement pendant for protection. Regardless, we'll know the instant we can see the situation. Su Xing took a deep breath. Zhao Hanyan glanced at him, actually somewhat worried. Although Su Xing had recovered to supervoid early stage, he clearly felt the pressure and forcefully broke through the bottleneck. To take action before recuperating was certainly very disadvantageous. There is a large teleportation array nearby in the Imperial Palace. It leads to the Jima beach near the Eastern Sea. We can save a few days' time. Zhao Hanyan said. Su Xing nodded. There was no time to lose. Several extremely fast escape lights flit past the Forbidden Palace. Zhu Sha, since you are knowledgeable about arrays, do you know what kind of array that was just now? Su Xing asked. The others were also very curious. They had never known of such an array in their memory that could surprisingly manifest a worldly anomaly that could trap the 108 star maidens. It is perhaps that Taiyi spherical heaven form array, Zhu Sha gently sighed. Thus, as Su Xing and the others rushed for Jima, the situation at the Eastern Sea Crystal Dragon Palace was already enough to stun everyone. 108 pillars rose in the Crystal Dragon Palace to form a 100 mu-sized formation. In the array, many brilliant stars flashed, manifesting the 28 mansions and an additional 11 stars. Liao Emperor Yelu Wuxin sat at the exact center of the array, her scroll unfurling. A curtain of light like the sea, with red, black, white, and blue simultaneously spiraled from each of the mansion's spirit lights, displaying the forms of the vermilion bird, black turtle, white tiger, and azure dragon. The scene was extremely breathtaking. The array's spirit lights flashed, and the disguises of all star generals and star masters collapsed. Their foreheads shimmered with star crests, each and every one of them seemingly bearing the weight of the 5 sacred mountains, unable to move even a step. Xinjie, what is going on? Wu Xiao was also stunned. Although there was the heavenly cycle Northern Dipper array in the star duels that was capable of restricting a star general's star energy, the fact was that this kind of array could only inhibit one star general and have various restrictions. It was completely unlike this Liao Emperor's array that could surprisingly trap so many star generals as easily as blowing dust. Looking around, the more than dozen star maidens and star masters present all displayed difficult expressions. Even with her pilgrim's array, she could not bear the pressure of this array. You are known as star generals, yet you surprisingly do not know? Yelu Wuxin held victory within her hands and showed a self-confident expression. Star World's million star names carry on as indestructible legends, yet only my great Liao's Taiyi spherical heaven form array is able to punish all things. The Taiyi spherical heaven form array emerged, and everyone noticed that all the star generals seemed to bear the 5 sacred mountains. Those star generals that ordinarily could make cultivators fearful and envious were completely suppressed as if they were infants. Even a scholar that lacked the strength to truss a chicken could kill them now. But Maiden Mountains might shook Liangshan content, and Thousand Buddha star Chao Gai was also present. Although those cultivators had fantasies, they nevertheless did not dare move in the slightest. However, some did not feel the same way. Knowledge star, thou must die. Northern Darkness has Fish's white hair fluttered, and his eyes shot out a sharp essence light. The Most High Path 3 Clarities flying swords became countless specks of light that fell towards Wu Xinjie and the other girls. Up until now, the Purple Thunder monster still did not appear, and Northern Darkness has Fish was unable to detect him using divine intent. He more or less already realized that the Purple Thunder monster probably was not in the Crystal Dragon Palace, but left the Knowledge Star and the others to manage his affairs. This discovery made Northern Darkness has Fish ecstatic. Everyone knew that if a star general was too far from her contractor, they would be unable to return to the star nest in the case they were killed. This was the reason why star generals and star masters were inseparable after signing a contract. But Northern Darkness has Fish was counting his chickens before they hatched. A cold and clear sword light chased over. That sword light immediately turned into a heavenly immortal that blocked the 3 Clarities flying swords' black light on contact. The one who intervened was none other than Emperor Liang. Northern Darkness has Fish looked over, and his expression immediately sunk. Emperor Liang, this old man today wants only to take the Purple Thunder monster's life. If you interfere any further, you will become enemies with the Most High Path. Emperor Liang's expression was calm as water, but his eyes inadvertently leaked his kingly grandeur. The 72 outer void flying immortals swords true immortals circled around, the flickering swordlights menacing. Northern Darkness has Fish, you have already become enemies with the Azure Dragon territory. Emperor Liang indifferently said. Long Wanxin, immortal outside heaven, do you think so, too? Northern darkness has fish recovered his calm. Immortal outside heaven's clothes fluttered. She was expressionless, her beauty exceedingly refined, but the sword spirit rainbows her 72 outer void flying immortal swords manifested emerged layer upon layer, clearly demonstrating her hostility. Long Wanxin. Northern darkness has fish then looked to the imperial empress of the Crystal Dragon Palace. Long Wanxin's expression was graceful, but she could not bear this as she remembered their more than 100-year-old friendship. Northern darkness has fish, release the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls right now. Unite with us to confront the White Tiger territory. There is still time to redeem this blunder. Please, fellow has fish, think over this again. You absolutely cannot be impulsive. This old man only wants to kill those star generals of the Purple Thunder monsters. Northern darkness has fish expressionlessly replied. Would it not be better for you to work together with this old man? Long Wanxin, could it be you would let go of this opportunity? How can what this old man is doing now not be for everyone's star masters? Long Wanxin hesitated briefly. These words certainly stirred her thoughts. Long Wanxin. Northern darkness has fish has already conspired with the White Tiger territory demon scoundrels. The connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls are proof. Do you really believe him? Emperor Liang smiled, full of disdain. The Liao Emperor will not save you. Northern darkness has fish, you had better give yourself up. Northern darkness has fish coldly snorted and disdained to reply. His body manifested a black light and directly flew over. The moment he moved, Emperor Liang and Immortal outside heaven were already completely ready for this. 100-sword spirit Immortal immediately attacked. The dazzling true Immortal continuously struck Northern darkness has fish, but the latter was worthy of being named the Most High Path's #1 cultivator. His cultivation was profound, and the sword chant of the two great Supervoid Peak cultivators were both warded off. Multicolored flying swords practically flooded the palaces within 100 meters. Sword lights spurt forth everywhere, making some cultivators who were too late to protect themselves suffer casualties. When Long Wanxin saw that Northern darkness has fish was obsessed, her heart inwardly sighed, and she used her magic weapons and powers. In an instant, the showdown between four great Supervoid cultivators became the Crystal Dragon Palace's most influential battle. Northern darkness has fish was somewhat strained fighting a 3-on-1. Several times, his sword array was obstructed before it could break the siege upon him. Emperor Liang and Immortal outside heaven's flying swords already were at the true spirit realm. Although their cultivations could not compare to his, even Northern darkness has fish considered himself inferior in terms of sword chance. The extreme clarity dark light was increasingly feeble under this assault. Northern darkness has fish suddenly shouted and brought out his strongest magic weapon, the 3 Clarities banner. He chanted the Most High Indifference incantation, and in a split second, a kind of worldly tranquility gathered on Northern darkness has fish's body. The Most High dark light protecting him clearly faded away, but Northern darkness fish still gave them an even more powerful feeling. This sensation was as if heaven and earth had become one. This is bad, that is the Most High Indifference. Long Wanxin's tone was shocked. The legendary 1 Qi becomes 3 Clarities. A perfect chance to experience it for ourselves. Emperor Liang sneered. Northern darkness has fish shook the 3 Clarities banner. The 3 Clarities banner shook out a ray of essence Qi that lingered at his side. Then, the essence Qi dispersed, and 3 identical Northern darkness has fishes appeared before them. Regardless of appearance, might, or even cultivation, they were exactly the same. Emperor Liang, today you destroyed the great Liang. Northern darkness has fish slowly opened his eyes. The 3 Northern darkness has fishes spoke at the same time, the words they said were oppressive. Emperor Liang used the true dragon imperial Qi to probe. Astonishingly, he discovered these projections and Northern darkness has fish were equally matched. The three Clarities banner can form three doppelgangers, but the most high indifference cultivated to the highest realm can reach the oneness of heaven and man stage. At this time, the doppelgangers will be no different from the real one. Long Wanxin hastily explained, so as to avoid Emperor Liang and Immortal outside heaven being caught off guard. What, 3 northern darkness has fishes? Immortal outside heaven was shocked. Fellow has fish, quickly stop. You absolutely cannot make mistake upon mistake. Long Wanxin was very clear that the most high indifference cultivation method would make the cultivator turn even colder, even dominate the cultivator himself, turning him into a monster of slaughter. It was for this reason that although the highest realm of the most high indifference ability was powerful, it was rare for a cultivator to practice it to this degree. But Northern Darkness has fish already put his all into the fight at this time. He would not listen to anything. Long Wanxin, you may as well hand over your bright moon ring, too. The 3 Northern Darkness has fishes smiled at the same time, chilling to the bone. Then, they simultaneously used different but equally powerful flying sword powers. Suddenly, the 3 Clarities immortal light extinguished the lights of Emperor Liang and the others in total domination. Millions of cultivators could only watch dumbstruck. Meanwhile, the White Tiger 7 Spirit Stars, Blue-Faced Beast, Yang Zijin, Striking Hawk, Li Qingqiao and the others were also unable to move under the Taiyi Spherical Heaven Form Array, but compared to the other panicky Star Masters, the White Tiger demons were nevertheless calm and collected, not at all concerned. After checking his Star General, Yueying watched that one Chi Form's 3 Clarities battle with a cruel grin. That Azure Dragon Territory Daoist's powers are even stranger than ours, to unexpectedly form 3 equally powerful doppelgangers. So do not be careless of them, Yueying. Zhang Feng said in agreement. What a pity that the time will still come for internecine strife. Yueying complacently smiled. Zhang Feng did not mind. He glanced at the battle of the Supervoid Peak. 1 Chi becomes 3 Clarities in front of him. Behind him was the Liao Emperor's battle, and from time to time, there was also the Star Maiden battles of the Azure Dragon Territory and others. Their side was contrarily quiet. In contrast, within the Taiyi Spherical Heaven Form Array, they were very calm about their Star Maidens' identities being exposed. Now is the perfect time to kill the Azure Dragon Territory's Star Masters down to the last one. Clearly, Yueying had noticed this point. The youth became somewhat excited. Relying on their cultivation add magic weapons, without their Star Generals for support, these Star Masters were nothing more than fish on the chopping block waiting for their doom. But out of worry for the Liao Emperor, everyone placed their gazes on the old man. Taisui, what is your decision? Everyone turned their heads to look, each and every one of them gazing at the calm and composed old man sitting on a prayer mat. The air around him stopped its flow, as if it was dead. After a seemingly long time, in what seemed another instant, the old man slowly opened his clear eyes. He only spoke 2 words that made the air surrounding him instantly come alive. Kill them. Master. Stalk of Flower Kai Yunjin looked painfully at her Star Master. The Heavenly River Sword Sex Li Xianyan stood close by to protect her. Yunjin, leave this time. Li Xianyan gave her a comforting expression that made the girl feel relief. It would be difficult for all the Star Generals outside their star nests to appear again if they returned to the star nest with the Taiyi Spherical Heaven Form Array in effect. This gave the other Star Masters a very great opportunity. An enormous killing intent pounced right at his face. Dust and stones suddenly flew about, turning the world dark. Protect junior brother Xianyan. The expression of a heavenly sword sect elder changed. Several dozen sword sect disciples gripped their heavenly river swords and opened an array. Insignificant Star Masters that dare take advantage of this crisis, do not be reckless. The elder sneered, believing that a short-sighted Star Master would want to take profit from this crisis. However, other than a top-notch Star Master like Xiao Hanyan, against the Star Masters in front of him, the old man had nothing to fear with his supercluster late-stage cultivation. The Azure Dragon Territory's ignorant youngster bluffs. A chilling sentence entered his ear. Shockingly, it was the voice of a young man. A shadow instantly arrived in front of them. The Heavenly River Sword sect disciples raised their Heavenly River Swords, firing sword lights, like lines of water pulling apart. They simultaneously spun in the surroundings, like a net. This was the Heavenly River Sword sect's famous Heavenly River Sword array, Heavenly Water One Line. That youth laughed out loud. He threw a slab of rotten wood. That rotten wood fell and vanished. That youth himself abruptly disappeared in midair as well. The Heavenly Water Sword sect's disciples looked around at each other, their expression astonished, none of them daring to be careless. "Look out!" Li Xianyan shouted. Before the other disciples could react, they heard an ear-splitting crack. The ground beneath them cracked open, and more than a dozen trees broke through the earth and pierced towards the skies like sharp swords. Instantly, a small forest was formed. These disciples could not handle a supervoid cultivator's magic weapon. Without even the slightest bit of resistance, they were skewered through their whole bodies. The Heavenly River Sword sect disciples were unexpectedly wiped out. Only Li Xianyan and the Heavenly Sword sect elder escaped this disaster by relying on their high-level reactions and cultivation. "How is it, do you like your servant's magic weapon Azure Dragon Execution Wood?" The young man appeared in the forest, wearing a cruel grin. Those corpses hanging on the trees were still wide-eyed, the running blood making the youth's savagery appear all the more shocking. This youth was none other than Yueying. Ah! Seeing his disciples die so wretchedly, the Heavenly River Sword sect's elder was extremely furious. He opened his mouth and fired more than 100 rock-piercing water droplets, like a torrential downpour. The forest was immediately uprooted. Truly courting death. Yueying raised both his hands, and more than 100 trees skyrocketed. Yueying's divine intent moved, and the trees stabbed towards the elder. The old man used his sword chant, activating the Heavenly River's Black Water Dark Snake Sword Array. More than 100 pitch-black flying swords slithered like a snake and attacked. The flying swords surged, unstoppable. Seeing that his flying swords were about to break the opposition's magic weapon, the old man was pleased. The mocking grin on the corner of Yueying's lips appeared even more cruel. He formed a hand seal, and the disheveled trees suddenly combined into a single giant tree. This tree's branches were convoluted, its leaves verdant. The leaves were dark as ink, and the treetop parted suddenly to let in black light. The black water flying swords were covered by this black light and immediately lost their support. The Heavenly River Sword sect elder was astonished. Suddenly, he felt an enormous pain in his divine intent. His heart panicked, and the flying swords he controlled collapsed. Yueying's Azure Dragon Execution Wood was created using an ancient tree in prehistory known as Subjugating Dragon Execution. It contained enormous power that could harm divine intent, particularly difficult for flying swords to stop. The old man shouted to himself that this was bad, and he promptly activated a magic weapon. Yueying grinned mercilessly. When he arrived in front of the old man, his hands suddenly transformed into countless vines and branches that grabbed. The magic weapon was expanding, but before it could fully activate, Yueying snatched it in right hand. Yueying had Li Qingxiao's innate skill, hovering combat, too, which greatly raised his realm. This action could be said to be extremely quick. The Heavenly River Elder did not react fast enough, and he was immediately pierced through the chest and died. Elder. Li Xianyan was endlessly hurt. Now it is your turn. Yueying ripped apart the elder and turned to attack Li Xianyan. Li Xianyan resisted with full power. Although he was renowned as the Heavenly River Sword sect's up-and-coming genius in recent years, Yueying was a wood demon that had cultivated for 1,000 years. A so-called genius was nothing more than an ant before him. Just as Li Xianyan was about to suffer a fatal blow. Just at this moment, an enormous blood-colored flower petal flew out. This bloody flower petal bloomed, spitting out a bloodlight that entangled Yueying. The flower petals closed, swallowing Yueying like a giant mouth. This flower was stalk of flower Kai Yunjin's star beast, Bloody Thara. 3. The star generals were trapped by the array, yet star beasts were not. At this very moment, star beasts had become the greatest protection a star general had aside from their star masters. Master. Kai Yunjin's pained expression was nevertheless resolutely controlling her divine intent. She made the bloody Thara devour Shi Yueying's corpse. Let's go, quickly. Li Xianyan wanted to grab Kai Yunjin and leave. A bone-chilling laugh. The bloody Thara suddenly shuddered. Its flower petals were in incomparable pain. Bloodlight burst out from inside. Its flower petals split open, and with a bang, the bloody Thara let out a shriek as it was torn apart. Kai Yunjin's face paled, watching in disbelief as her star beast bloody Thara was killed. A strange, twisted tree full of markings sprouted towards the heavens. That tree appeared ghastly, its form gnarled, winding like blood vessels. Its dense leaves were sharp as razor blades. With a rustle, it let out a hair-raising chill. Not good, this demon has revealed his true body. Li Xianyan turned aghast. The White Tiger Territory's demon cultivators used their cultivation of their essence to assume human form. If they released their true bodies, their cultivations would skyrocket. A demon's true body was even more powerful. Shi Yueying maintained a human youth's appearance at merely supercluster stage, more or less. Revealing his true body, he entered supervoid cultivation. Damned ants, to surprisingly force me into using my true body, your servant will hang your skulls as decorations. A youth's twisted face formed on the tree trunk. Shi Yueying shouted with bared fangs. His tree leaves rustled. Ah, tree demon. A tree demon. This is bad. The several thousand cultivators that had rushed over to face Shi Yueying together were scared out of their wits when they saw that giant, frightening tree. They used their escape techniques and flying swords to escape in a panic. Shi Yueying sneered incessantly. His leaves shook. Countless spikes rose from the ground, covering a range of 500-600 meters. Blade-like tree leaves shot out, turning into tiny black lights. Screams rang out continuously everywhere. Countless cultivators were too late to react. Supervoid cultivation was extremely powerful. Shi Yueying had instantly killed thousands of cultivators in the blink of an eye. The dense spikes pounced, and Li Xianyan was pale in despair. Master. Kai Yunjin sobbed, unexpectedly forcing herself to stand against the Taiyi spherical heaven form array. She leapt, wanting to grab Li Xianyan's hand. Li Xianyan reached out his hand in incomparable despair. Everything collapsed around them. Yunjin, Li Xianyan shouted, wanting to hold Kai Yunjin's hand in death. Shi Yueying clearly was disgusted at such a warm scene. The earth spikes became even more numerous and frightening. However, in the end, he could not stop their firm grip on one another. At the same time, the rolling earth spike tore Li Xianyan to pieces. After a whimper, stalk of flower Kai Yunjin also disappeared. A crimson star immediately fell onto the demon tree. When Shi Yueying started his slaughter, the other White Tiger 7 spirit stars obtained Li Taisui's indication and did not hesitate to seize the opportunity afforded by the connecting heaven-ocean settling pearls to slaughter the other star masters and star generals. Crimson stars fell one after another. Xiang Qinqing brandished a giant staff. The staff's wind blew about, and golden light shot out, killing several dozen cultivators. His attack style was violent, opening a great general's wind. Having inherited Zhou Jian's layered pupil's innate skill, this made Xiang Qinqing's eyes appear even more terrifying. His staff was unstoppable, and the others' cultivators could not defend against this. Ah! General of Holy Fire Wei Ranxin was killed by Xiang Qinqing into the star nest without any resistance. Little sister, quickly run. Sikong Chuha hastily shouted. The yin-yang twin swords pincer attacked, twisting for Xiang Qinqing's head, but they clanged against his neck as if they had struck iron. Hearing this sound, there was unexpectedly no result. Bastard! Sikong Dangnyo angrily cursed. Seeing this man seize the chance to kill Dan Menghe when she was trapped, she wanted him to flay him alive. Countless fire arrows descended. Xiang Qinqing did not fear the power of her flames at all. This man who did not even feel like putting on a stiff expression felt nothing at all. Golden light twinkled as he slashed with his giant staff. Several golden, sickle-shaped killing intents directly and neatly cut the palaces apart. Sikong Dangnyo barely evaded, but killing intent covered her at the same time. Xiang Qinqing swung his giant staff. Silong Dangnyo's frightened face was ashen. Fortunately, Sikong Chuha was always prepared. The girl pointed her finger, and a burst of water blossomed that entangled the descending staff. Then, she used the Snow Woman lantern, and Sikong Chuha advanced with an icy spear in her hands, burning with a flame like frost. The way the flames burned was extremely unusual, like the flapping of a bird's wing. Xiang Qinqing's brows finally rose. Sikong Chuha grunted. Frost won 9 firmaments. Sikong Chuha shouted in a low voice as her spear slashed a surging frost flame that burned from the spear. The flame that could burn even the blue dome of heaven immediately consumed Xiang Qinqing. Sikong Chuha seized the chance to pull her little sister into sitting on the heavenly river divine cold and retreated. Elder sister, why are we not killing him? Sikong Dangnyo angrily said. We cannot. That demon has a metal body for protection. I fear his true body is that of a metal-armored demon beast. Even the yin-yang twin swords are helpless. We cannot beat him. Sikong Chuha was anxious. Wait until we sisters practice the yin-yang twin phoenix jian, then we can beat him. Sikong Sihuha consoled. Sikong Dangnyo had wanted to say something. Feet ice flame behind them dispersed. As Sikong Chuha had expected, Xiang Qinqing barreled out of the flames, his layered pupils frightening, glinting with a golden light. Even Sikong Dangnyo was frightened as if by a devil. Humph. Sikong Chuha did not expect him to be this thorny. The heavenly river divine colt sprayed a burst of water light that formed a net. Xiang Qinqing abruptly threw out a treasure. A golden light immediately pierced through, running through the heavenly river divine colt like a shooting star. The heavenly river divine colt whimpered, and the Sikong Chuha and Sikong Dangnyo immediately fell unsteadily from its back. Little sister. Sikong Chuha for the first time showed a fearful expression. A tall and sturdy man appeared beside Sikong Dangnyo. His layered pupils glinted, reflecting Sikong Dangnyo's blank expression. Without any hesitation, the man swung the giant staff squarely down. Just as Sikong Dangnyo was about to be hacked in two by Xiang Qinqing, just at this moment, a beam of white light struck Xiang Qinqing. He grimaced, stopping his body for just a brief moment. At this very moment, Sikong Dangnyo activated her underground escape technique, and her figure faded from where she lay on the ground. Instantly, she reappeared beside her elder sister. Sikong Dangnyo had always been under the careful attention of her elder sister whenever they ran into great danger. Even when they faced the famous Purple Thunder monster, she had escaped with the assistance of her elder sister. Unlike what happened at that time, the girl's face was streaked with tears. If it was not for the inappropriate scene, she probably would have buried her face into her elder sister's chest to weep. Sikong Chuha breathed a sigh of relief. She cast a grateful gaze, and just as she was about to give her thanks, she froze upon seeing her counterpart. The one who took action was a tall and graceful woman. Her hand pinched a pure white talisman, and her expression held an air of mystery like that of mist. Her brow had a dab of cinnabar, and her expression was collected yet without mysteriousness. Furthermore, her forehead sparkled with a star crest, making clear the woman's identity, Star Master. Sui Xiao's heart right now truly was somewhat frustrated. She had always resided in seclusion at her inn in the Vermilion Bird territory, prepared to peacefully manage her business until the moment the star duels ended. She had not intended to join this Crystal Dragon Palace treasure banquet, but she had never expected to encounter majestic Star Panther Head Lin Yingmei and Hero Star Little Li Guanghua Wanhua later on. She was enthralled by these two great and unique martial generals, and in her heart she had great longing for them. The painting scene from that day was still vivid in her mind. The painting that day was not finished, which made literature's star sacred-handed scholar Shao Qingyan very regretful. Upon hearing that the treasure banquet was opening, that top-notch martial generals would inevitably appear, these two planned a trip and hurried over. On one hand, they wanted to see Lin Yingmei and Hua Wanhua to finish their painting. On the other, they also wanted to see this famous banquet. By the time they rushed the 1,000 li from the Vermilion Bird territory to the Crystal Dragon Palace, it was already the last day. Not only did they not see Lin Yingmei, on the contrary, they had actually fallen into the trap the White Tiger's 7 spirit stars had lain, the Taiyi spherical heaven form array. This made Su Yixiao smile somewhat helplessly. She only wanted to peacefully run her business, right to the end of the star duels. She had never wanted to be drawn into the battles of star masters. 2. When she saw that the Sikong sisters had been trapped, these two sisters piqued Su Yixiao, so the girl took action. Many thanks for the rescue. Being saved by a star master made Sikong Chuha feel somewhat strange, yet her heart still brimmed with gratitude. The three of us must work together to face this demon. Su Yixiao gently said. Sikong Dangnyo knew Xiang Qinqing's might. Under the Taiyi spherical heaven array, they could not escape. They could only fight to the death. If they put everything on the line, they still had a chance at life. Xiang Qinqing showed a mocking expression. The man's build was tall as an iron tower. The Sikong sisters and Su Yixiao really were weak women in his eyes, a clear contrast. Just the three of you who overestimate yourselves. Xiang Qinqing's knuckles cracked. There is also me. A voice as firm as iron. Another man flew over. That man was well-groomed, an attractive appearance. His forehead had a star crest, and his cultivation was supercluster early stage. Your servant is Tai Shuwang. 3. Ladies, let us for now set aside our grudges to confront this demon beast. The man cupped his fist and introduced himself. Seeing Li Xiangyan's wretched death to Yueying, Tai Shuwang realized the might of these white tiger demons. This was the first time he had run over to form a team. Su Yixiao slightly nodded, not saying anything. Sikong Chuha agreed, and her gaze stopped on Xiang Qinqing. For star masters working together. Even if their cultivations were a level lower, they could still manage. Xiang Qinqing roared, just like a tiger out of a cage. His supercluster peak's powerful aura nearly knocked them over. Tai Shuwang sneered, activating his sword chant and sword array. Then, he was covered in armor of black iron. A horse or ox-like black beast with a horn appeared. This was the star beast of Tai Shuwang's star general. Heavy black. Sikong Chuha was taken aback. She was quite familiar with this star beast. This beast's name was Heavy Black, because its whole body was as hard as black iron, becoming famous through its armor unsurpassed under heaven. Its horn was even more indestructible, and it just happened to be somewhat useful against Xiang Qinqing. But the heavy black beast did not charge Xiang Qinqing. On the contrary, it stayed near Tai Shuwang, guarding him like the fortress walls to a city. Although they knew this behavior was due to the star maiden protecting her master, this made Sikong Chuha brim with vigilance about this graceful man. Sikong Chuha used the snow woman lantern, and her body was full of ice cold. Her hand gripped the frost lance as she charged without any fear. Sikong Dangnyo also used her flying swords as backup. Su Yixiao was feeble. She did not have any flying swords or powers, and she was not like Sikong Chuha who was full of a martial general's bearing. The young girl's hand tugged her black hair, and a slender ray of white light like a cute living serpent wound around the girl's fingertip, producing a pure white light ball on Su Yixiao's magic weapon Loyal Heart Wonderful Brush. This beast was named, Blank Space, 5, the Sacred-Handed Scholar's Star Beast. The Sacred-Handed Scholar's innate skill was talisman drawing, and Blank Space could produce talisman paper and rapid-cast talismans. With this, although Su Yixiao was not forceful like Tai Shuwang or the Sikong sisters, she brought the most trouble to Xiang Qinqing. A talisman flew out from the girl's fingertip. It struck Xiang Qinqing and became various kinds of fire birds and water apes, blades and spears. Tai Shuang's flying swords flashed with a black rainbow, becoming two fanged dragons. Each was 7 or 8 zhang long, exceptionally malevolent. Xiang Qinqing's expression did not panic, as if he had already anticipated this attack. This giant staff slashed with a resplendent golden light. 2 rays of golden light similarly changed and entangled Tai Shuang's flying swords. Xiang Qinqing was pounded painfully by the talismans. Even with his body that did not lose out to a Vajra, he was becoming somewhat aggravated. One hand continued to spin his staff, and he stomped with one leg. The earth quaked, knocking Sikong Chuha away. He then slashed at Su Yixiao. The girl's black hair fluttered. Her mysterious smile vanished, and her expression turned grim. One of her hands suddenly grabbed, and a scroll of twinkling gold light was thrown out. Immediately afterwards in this spirit light, this treasure instantly opened with a clear sound. More than 100 ancient script characters of gold and silver flew out from the book. These scripts hovered and immediately enlarged. Then, they became countless substantive things that directly surrounded Xiang Qinqing. This treasure was known as Exhausted Bamboo Slats Book, a rarely seen ancient treasure. It was not to be outdone by flying swords. Xiang Qinqing bellowed, and the skin on his body became as hard as iron. Golden light coiled about him endlessly. The characters from the Exhausted Bamboo Slats Book twisted, booming endlessly against him. The lights of gold and silver exploded on Xiang Qinqing's body, not only shattering the golden light surrounding Xiang Qinqing, they also knocked Xiang Qinqing into tumbling continuously away. These gold and silver characters were unexpectedly each abnormally strong. The 3 of them working together in a powerful attack had obstructed a monster as invincible as Xiang Qinqing. When Tai Shuang saw this, he was slightly overjoyed, surreptitiously increasing instantly the magic energy he imbued the flying swords even more. Su Yixiao was indifferent. As she used the Exhausted Bamboo Slats Book, she also used blank space to gradually and endlessly spit out talismans. The Exhausted Bamboo Slats Book suddenly shuddered, and even more ancient characters spilled out from the book. Golden light flashed. Xiang Qinqing's face was stiff as numerous talisman scripts surrounded and attacked him. Without another word, he raised his hands. The staff in his hands was his life-cast magic weapon. The staff rose and swept away all of the characters. When Su Yixiao saw this, she could not help but be stunned. On the other side, Sikong Dangnyo did not hold back. Although she had escaped by the skin of her teeth, she hated Xiang Qinqing to the bone. She grit her teeth. Unable to abide her elder sister's instructions, she raised a spotlessly white and perfect mirror. This mirror aimed and reflected the golden light around Xiang Qinqing's hard as iron body. Immediately, a pure white light beam shot out from the mirror. That golden light was unable to fecund, and upon being illuminated by the light beam, the protective golden light greatly dimmed. Even the Xiang Qinqing who possessed sturdy defenses was somewhat drained, making Tai Shuang inwardly startled. This, obscuring light mirror, 6, was the Sikong sisters' trump card. It was specialized in restricting light-based abilities and was capable of absorbing them. Originally, it was prepared for use against careless star masters during the 5th phase of the star duels, but seeing that Xiang Qinqing was invulnerable, Sikong Dangnyo did not hesitate at all. Xiang Qinqing's 4 pupils looked all around. When he saw this scene, he grunted and plunged far away, with one of his hands snapping several times. Suddenly, his giant staff boomed loudly. Fine arcs of lightning manifested on the staff. But they were instantly destroyed. The golden around his body was absorbed by the obscuring light mirror. The talismans, flying swords, scripts, and sword chi boomed down on him like a tidal wave. When Sikong Chuha saw that her little sister had used the magic weapon, she inwardly sighed, and she promptly said, "Everyone, if you have any other abilities, please use them quickly. If we let this demon manifest his true body, we will be very misfortunate." The words Supervoid Stage Demon Beast were enough to make them despair. Tai Shuang's eyes flashed with slight hesitation. In the end, he nevertheless restrained his thoughts. He mouthed an incantation, utilizing his sword array at its highest realm. Sikong Chuha's heart was vexed that this elegant man was narrow-minded, still surprisingly holding back at this time. However, Tai Shuang's sword array was powerful. The flying swords assumed a 9 gates formation, layered and interlocked, providing support in and out. The 9-layered absolute destruction sword array attacked Xiang Qinqing mercilessly. Immediately afterwards, Su Yixiao threw out a supreme grade talisman, life-breaking talisman. Xiang Qinqing's stiff expression finally showed astonishment. The obscuring light mirror broke his defenses, the absolute destruction sword array destroyed, the life-breaking talisman attacked, and the snow woman lantern restrained. The 4 of them worked together, and Xiang Qinqing was immediately unable to persist. Even a super void cultivator would inevitably die under such a concentrated assault, right? Tai Shuang's eyes flashed with a bright light. He suddenly dashed forward, prepared to take Xiang Qinqing's life in one stroke, to obtain the power of a supercluster stage Crimson Star. Sikong Chuha's expression changed, and she cursed his stupidity. Thunder rolled. The vanished golden light suddenly surged into the 9 firmaments. A giant demon beast appeared in front of everyone. That beast was covered in golden scales and a giant carapace. Its build was like a small mountain, almost like a dragon. A pair of pupils were like lanterns. Xiang Qinqing had finally revealed his true body to everyone under their attacks. As Sikong Chuha had thought, he was astonishingly a demon beast with extremely powerful defense. Luminous golden scorch. 7. Those golden scales and that giant shell were nigh unbreakable. The golden armored demon beast's own body was a defense that even the obscuring light mirror could not handle. Ah! Tai Shuang gasped in astonishment. Xiang Qinqing bellowed, barreling forwards violently, his 4 hooves booming, as if he tread on thunder. A supervoid demon beast's head-on aggression was powerful enough to directly frighten Tai Shuang into freezing up. Heavy Black lowered its head and charged as well. The star beast and Xiang Qinqing's true body slammed into each other head-on. Bang! Heavy Black was surprisingly killed instantly, and the remaining force continued forth without stop onto Tai Shuang's body. The man groaned, for his bones had all shattered, and blood leaked from his orifices. He was a miserable sight, his body seemingly a slab of rubber as he flew far away. Even if he did not die, he would no doubt be a cripple. Using their true body was the greatest humiliation for every demon cultivator. As far as they were concerned, this was like a beautiful girl being forced to undress and bare her naked body in order to avoid calamity. Xiang Qinqing's eyes were already spouting fury. On one hand, to make a demon cultivator use their true body was to say that he was out of options. On the other, this posed an even more terrifying foe to the cultivators. Roar! Xiang Qinqing did not hesitate to barrel towards Sikong Chuha, who was closest to him. With a supervoid demon beast's speed and strength, Sikong Chuha was already undoubtedly dead. This time, even if Su Yixiao threw out a life-breaking talisman, she was already unable to change Xiang Qinqing's attack. Absolute despair instantly burst forth in Sikong Chuha's heart, yet she worried for her little sister. Bang! Sikong Chuha only felt an enormously violent astral wind launch at her. The force of the powerfully defensive demon beast's charge completely ran uncontested through her magic weapon defenses. Sikong Chuha was slammed by this astral wind, and her body could not help but involuntarily fly away as she accepted this fate of death. It seemed that when the time came for her to die, it was not as painful as she imagined. It was even somewhat gentle. Sikong Chuha felt that she was being hugged by a soft body. Elder sister. Elder sister. Her little sister's worried voice reached her ears. Sikong Chuha opened her eyes and looked. She then discovered that Sikong Dangnyo was hugging her, and that although her whole body hurt, she was nevertheless free of any wounds. Elder sister, we must quickly help her. Sikong Dangnyo shouted. Xiang Qinqing's true body was stopped several chi away from Sikong Chuha by 2 pieces of silk. The soft silk strips of cloth carried an inconceivable flexibility, obstructing Xiang Qinqing at the last possible moment. She was saved by none other than Su Yixiao, once again. The young girl's black hair fluttered, and her brow was locked tight, her expression strained. Beads of sweat slid down her forehead. The girl used all her strength to bind Xiang Qinqing. The two pieces of silk were none other than her own long sleeves. Sleeves help dance beautifully. 8. Sikong Chuha immediately recognized the name of this power. This ability, passed down from the heavenly lady, fluttered the sleeves and was able to bind any hard object, 9, in the world. The power itself was magnificent, like a fairy's dance moves. Sikong Chuha had once heard of this sleeves help dance beautifully, but in Liangshan continent in the past, a Han dynasty imperial family had forbidden it and gave no one information. She never expected to see it resurface. Although Su Yixiao used sleeves help dance beautifully to constrict Xiang Qinqing, to strangle this kind of demon beast was practically impossible. The girl could only use all her strength to stall him. That profoundly mysterious expression of hers was already somewhat grim. Sikong Chuha called for her little sister and decided to once again use the yin-yang twin swords. Towards this star master who had saved her little sister and then herself, Sikong Chuha felt extremely conflicted. Exhausted bamboo slats book. Sleeves help dance beautifully. Just who was this somewhat mysterious woman? For the first time, Sikong Chuha was somewhat curious. Lady Snake Scorpion recalled Savage Star Double-Headed Snake Xie Diao back into the star nest. In the Taiyi spherical heaven form array, there was no need to let her stick around and die. She looked at the arrogant woman in front of her, and Lady Snake Scorpion showed a victor's sneer. Die, 9 Tattooed Dragons Shi Jin. Minute Star 9 Tattooed Dragons Shi Jin's 9 divine weapons were truly troublesome to deal with, especially that 5-star destined weapon Yellow Dragon Staff that was hard for even Lady Snake Scorpion to ward off. Now, their sudden surprise attack and the assistance of the Taiyi spherical heaven form array enormously aided Lady Snake Scorpion. All star generals in the array were completely trapped, and they could only bare their necks in preparation for death. Seeing that the famous 9 tattooed dragons was about to die by her hand, Lady Snake Scorpion could hardly conceal the excitement inside her heart. Shi Jingluan used the yellow dragon staff to prop her body up. The woman was currently urging on her dragon tattoo, innate skill with all her strength. Her jade skin continuously flickered with dragon patterns, as if they were about to come alive, roaring. 9 tattooed dragons attempted to lift herself from the array, but every single time was taxing. Never expected that you surprisingly have still not signed a contract. Let us see who can save you this time. Lady Snake Scorpion jeered. Looking at the dead and wounded 9 dragons' palace disciples strewn about, Shi Jingluan's haughty expression showed pain. She gazed at Lady Snake Scorpion with an expression full of hatred and a bone-chilling cold. Lady Snake Scorpion was already accustomed to this sort of expression. She was the Star Master Poison Overlord of the Vermilion Bird Territory. Even the Star Masters of the other 4 mountains had been killed by her, taking their star energy. The current Lady Snake Scorpion was astonishingly nearing a breakthrough to Supervoid stage. What she cultivated was also the Snake Scorpion Heart Sutra, increasing her toxic cultivation method and profundity. Sooner or later, those White Tiger Territory demons would also die at Lady Snake Scorpion's hand. Lady Snake Scorpion sneered as she drew the Stars Falling Dragon sword. Waving the sword, white lights twinkled upon it. The twinkling became a glaring light ball, and there was a vaguely visible dragon-like silhouette in the light ball. Just as it was slowly taking shape, the light ball shot over like a starlight, surprisingly bringing a thundering noise, about to kill Shi Jingluan. But Shi Jingluan had no intentions of retreating. Rather, she urged on her star energy, and the dragon tattoos on her body instantly expanded, flying with a roar. And at this moment, several unusually thick and white sword lights flashed by in front of Shi Jingluan. Shi Jingluan took a small breath. This kind of calmness made Lady Snake Scorpion slightly displeased. The Star Masters and Star Generals she had killed so far all were in incomparable despair. Even if this minute Star Shijin's martial force was domineering, so what? Snorting, it was just at this moment that a sword light suddenly shot out. And after this purple sword light emerged, it suddenly expanded with a crackle, instantly becoming a tire-sized crescent that broke her pure white falling dragon sword lights. Lady Snake Scorpion flowery complexion paled, but regardless, she was the Vermilion Bird Territory's #1 Star Master. She had other abilities. She breathed out a poison fog. After a muffled bang, the sword light split apart, instantly becoming several smaller fragments. Then, they dueled with the stars falling dragon sword lights. Boom! Those light beams slammed against the sword lights without any restraint. Purple beams and white lights flashed. The two kinds of extreme blazes exploded in the area. Countless glittering lights appeared in midair, the two cold chi spread through the entire space in the blink of an eye. Powerful sword wind blew Lady Snake Scorpion into an extremely sorry figure, and a chill tickled her back. Courting death. Lady Snake Scorpion furiously shouted. She waved her hand, and a blinding, highly poisonous black net flew out from her palm. The frightening poison chi and speed practically reached Shi Jingluan's front in the blink of an eye with an air-shattering screech. Then, the air issued an unpleasant stench. Lady Snake Scorpion clicked her tongue. The Grand Nine Tattooed Dragon Shi Jingluan, to turn the absolutely magnificent Star Maiden into an ugly corpse at the end with her 1,000 spider poison shadow, was truly too tragic. The poison fog dispersed. Shi Jingluan was perfectly unharmed, and in front of her was already a beautiful man. The still regretful Lady Snake Scorpion suddenly stopped. The man wore a green long gown, and his cultivation was surprisingly supervoid stage. He held a long sword in his hand, and the sword emitted a powerful pressure. Supervoid Sword Saint? Who are you? Lady Snake Scorpion bared her teeth at this man who interfered with her. Your servant dislikes snake and scorpion women like you. Lu Tianya's tone was gentle, as if he was speaking with a lover. Compared to her husband's bold and powerful body, Lady Snake Scorpion suddenly extremely loathed this kind of pretty boy. So it turns out you found a man as well, Shi Jin. No wonder you did not sign a contract, ha, ha. Lady Snake Scorpion thought that Minute Star 9 Tattooed Dragons thought that the reason why Minute Star 9 Tattooed Dragons did not sign a contract was that she had taken a fancy to this Supervoid Sword Saint who was unable to contract, thus, she laughed out loud. Shi Jingluan paid no heed, but she wrinkled her brow. Lu Tianya, you do not need to mind me. Go protect Qingxi for now. Qingxi wants to take this chance to induct her sisters into the uprising, but because she worries for Imperial Empress, she has ordered your servant to hurry over. Lu Tianya answered calmly. But, Shi Jingluan hesitated, but she knew that Qingxi was a thorough person and said nothing more. She knew that now that the fourth phase Heavenly Books was on the eve of beginning, uprising other sisters was already their most urgent matter. The Taiyi Spherical Heaven Form Array gave her a perfect opportunity to use the Uprising's ability to protect those Star Maidens who were not necessarily fortunate. What uprising do you speak of? Lady Snake Scorpion felt this was foreboding, and she coldly said, could you be thinking of interrupting our star duel? Lu Tianya elegantly and gracefully took up his sword. A sword tip pointed at Lady Snake Scorpion as if it was at her back. He seemed to be saying, even if I die, she will not take a single step. Lady Snake Scorpion was indignant, and she was about to say something. Suddenly, a chill crawled over her skin. Lady Snake Scorpion hastily withdrew. A portion of her shirt was ripped apart by sword chi, and it was then that Lady Snake Scorpion felt a bit of fear. This was the first time that she had encountered a sword saint who did not fear Maiden Mountain. Truly stupid. No wonder Shi Jin does not sign a contract, this man is honestly somewhat capable. Lady Snake Scorpion would not let go of this opportunity. She urged on the 1,000 spider poison shadow, and invisible poison threads attacked Lu Tianya. The latter was as calm as water, but his footsteps were not the slight bit inattentive. The sword in his hand waved, and Snow White's sword Chi twisted apart the poison threads. But this was merely Lady Snake Scorpion's diversion. The next second, Lady Snake Scorpion was like a sword unsheathed, a cold glint flashing by. Two goo creatures, a snake and a scorpion, suddenly flew out. These snake and scorpion goo were the goo that Lady Snake Scorpion was most proud of. Ever since she lost the 10,000-year goo, Lady Snake Scorpion had concentrated all of her power to refining these goo. The snake and scorpion goo were like a set of imperceptible battle monsters. Poison fog wafted, and poison light spread. Its unstoppable progress was merciless and its attacks severe. Each strike would enter into Lu Tianya's range. However, the strange thing was that Lu Tianya was unimpressed. Lady Snake Scorpion's attacks was far from as deadly as he had imagined. Lu Tianya merely used his sword Chi as a way to make a shelter, easily making Lady Snake Scorpion's snake and scorpion goo incapable of progressing. Since this is the case, then off you go, Lu Tianya gently said. He raised his arm, and a powerful sword Chi burst out from his sword, forming a terrifying force that washed away the entire place. In an instant, in just a single instant, Lady Snake Scorpion's beautiful pupils suddenly contracted. Boom! Just looking at this world-breaking explosion, even the shockwave was capable of disintegrating the entire palace. All the cultivators were terror-stricken. You damned man! The dust dispersed, and Lady Snake Scorpion cut a very sorry figure. The woman's clothes were in shambles, and her snow-white skin showed burning wounds. But she was fairly tenacious, surprisingly still able to stand. Lady Snake Scorpion raised a hand, and a familiar and terrifying poison thread gathered in her hand. Die! Lady Snake Scorpion cursed. A poison shadow shot out from Lady Snake Scorpion's hand. Lu Tianya's right hand waved. The poison shadow was knocked aside, but in that instant he waved his hand, Lu Tianya simultaneously already set his speed in motion. After he warded off the poison shadow, Lu Tianya directly reached her front, forcibly crossing the distance of several zhang between them. His speed was swift as a demon's, and before she could react, the long sword in his hand hacked down towards Lady Snake Scorpion. Supervoid Sword Saints possessed absolutely overpowering martial force. You unexpectedly dare to kill me. Lady Snake Scorpion's face sunk. Just as the beauty was about to die, at this moment, a golden light flit by and snatched her away. Its speed was fast enough to make even Lu Tianya startled. This Supervoid Sword Saint turned around to stand guard in front of Shi Jingluan. His long sword flew about, and the clangs of strikes landed. However, at this time, he had already lost his chance to kill Lady Snake Scorpion. You damned Supervoid Sword Saint, you would go so far as to kill my wife. Lord Husband. Lady Snake Scorpion was overjoyed. Her savior was none other than Great Sage Falling Sky Rock Demon King. Wife, there is no need to worry. Husband shall dispatch this bastard for you. The Rock Demon King showed a cold expression as he stared fixedly at Lu Tianya. Lu Tianya's eyebrows rose. His hand heedlessly gripped his weapon tight, and his expression became more serious than before. As if a storm's stuffiness was suddenly approaching. Without another word, after the Rock Demon King set down Lady Snake Scorpion, he immediately pounced. The Rock Demon King's cultivation was considerably profound. Just his magic energy alone did not lose out to Lu Tianya, and the martial arts the Rock Demon King cultivated at Falling Dragon Mountain similarly could not be underestimated. His hand gripped a golden club that struck at Lu Tianya's head. Killing intent drenched Lu Tianya, following the contours of his face and drawing out blood in his mouth. Lu Tianya was quiet. He breathed slowly and deeply, letting the killing intent strike him, his person indifferent as a flower. This kind of quiet killing intent was actually quite obstructive. Go! Lu Tianya's finger curled. The sword Chi in his hand then became a dragon that coiled towards the Rock Demon King. Their powerful cultivations dueled, surprisingly churning the ocean waters. A torrent emerged and poured down, becoming a heavy rain. In this rain, a wave of scorching heat broke out. A snow-white sword tip split it apart. Hey! Sword chi blossomed from Lu Tianya's hand. The rainwater gradually crumbled away, and sword chi passed through the screen of controlled water and formed a perfectly coordinated attack. The Rock Demon King roared. A strong pressure surprisingly destroyed this terrifying attack of rain. Lu Tianya lowered his stance and instantly bolted forward a distance of 1 zhang. The power of his sword tip crisscrossed where Lu Tianya originally stood, exploding, evaporating into a boiling splash. Wind howled in every direction, blowing out fires. Evading killing intent, it tore at the Rock Demon King. As befitting the ruler of Falling Dragon Mountain, the Rock Demon King took a swift step and tread upon the rainwater, directly using force to push this down, as if he was Mount Tai. Meanwhile, Lu Tianya sprung upwards. He aggressively attacked. This level of ground was completely pulverized. Lu Tianya used extremely quick speed to close in, a pinch of sword light in his palm blasting. The Rock Demon King struck back with his club. But just at this moment, Lu Tianya's sword vanished like a shadow from his eyes. Then, an intense pain struck his chest. The Rock Demon King flew out. Sigh at world's end. Impressive. Lu Tianya's 5 fingers opened, unexpectedly feeling pain. Lu Tianya instantly shifted to the opposite side. Die. Wherever the Rock Demon King looked, his powerful strength burst. Explosions continuously erupted behind Lu Tianya, slightly astonishing him. Courting death. Golden light unfolded in the rain. A club swing suddenly produced wind, carrying a strong momentum that smashed towards him head-on. The long sword and club clashed. Lu Tianya immediately felt his chi and blood roll, and he felt the inside of his body seemingly about to explode. The Rock Demon King sneered and used an escape technique. Lu Tianya felt his eyes get blinded. The Rock Demon King's club already attacked. Lu Tianya's reactions were quick, barely blocking with his sword. Then, he used a happy excursion, too, forcing the Rock Demon King back. A Supervoid Sword Saint is no more than this. The Rock Demon King laughed aloud. He possessed his winged escape technique. His speed alone could make Lu Tianya look at nothing but dust. If it was not for his Sword Saint reaction, any other person would have already died. Great Sage Falling Dragon is only capable of this much. Lu Tianya gracefully wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth, showing a disdainful expression. The Shi Jingluan at his side tightly gripped her yellow dragon staff. If it was not for being trapped in the array, 9 tattooed dragons would have already intervened. Then this sage shall allow you to witness my true power. The Rock Demon King's body emitted golden light. He suddenly opened his mouth and bellowed with the sound of thunder. The rolling sound wave contained the might of a supervoid peak, shaking the surrounding several dozen li. Countless cultivators were knocked unconscious and then died. Lu Tianya himself nearly lapsed as well. Rocks cry 9 firmaments. 3. The Rock Demon King shouted once more. This time, the shaking nearly dislodged Lu Tianya's weapon from his hand. Lord Husband, your savant shall help you. Lady Snake Scorpion sneered. Once again, she used the 1,000 spider poison shadow. Countless poisonous threads formlessly wrapped around. Although Lu Tianya wanted to dodge, under this sound wave, his consciousness basically could not exert any control. Lu Tianya had been heavily injured at the Bright Moon Longevity Palace, and had only recovered a little more than halfway using the green nether gourd, far from his peak state. Encountering the domineering Rock Demon King, how could he last? The 1,000 spider poison shadow tore into his whole body. Lu Tianya softly sighed, yet his eyes did not admit defeat in the slightest. He stared at Lady Snake Scorpion and suddenly moved. Bang! The Rock Demon King was already on guard. The club in his hand swung and sent Lu Tianya flying. Lu Tianya! Shi Jingluan was stunned. This was the first time she had seen him be beaten back. A minor wound, nothing more. Lu Tianya tenaciously stood up. Lord Husband, send this damned couple to hell. Lady Snake Scorpion charmingly smiled. The Rock Demon King naturally would not let him go. But just at this moment, a multicolored light like that of a heavenly canopy descended. Wife, be careful. The Rock Demon King immediately let out protective golden light when he saw this, using his divine weapon to strike the multicolored light. This multicolored light was also resilient, surprisingly not collapsing for the time being. Immediately afterwards, the multicolored light rolled. Hey! The Rock Demon King shouted again, directly shouting back the multicolored light that rolled towards Lady Snake Scorpion. This sudden abnormality made Lady Snake Scorpion surprised. The Rock Demon King coldly said, "Holy Mother, you surprisingly aid the Azure Dragon Territory's cultivators." A beautiful figure emerged who was precisely Holy Mother Xia. Lady Snake Scorpion, you betrayed the agreement for the Seven Stars Assembly. You killed my disciple, and today, we shall properly assess this debt. Holy Mother Xia coldly said. Very well. The Rock Demon King laughed. Lu Tianya, are you still fine? Sure Yueying asked. Seeing the tranquility in 9 tattooed dragon's eyes, Lu Tianya slightly sighed and nodded. Protect Wudao. Ancestor Longevity shouted. The disciples of the Lifeless Hall wearing black robes each formed hand seals. 1,000 flying swords gathered into a rolling black cloud that churned without stop. Within the center of the disciples, Yan Wudao was protected. At this time, star masters that had the backing of a sect displayed this advantage. Under the Taiyi spherical heaven form array, weakened star masters would generally become the #1 attack target of other people, but with the support of a sect, at least it would not be so simple to kill him. However, Xian Lao sauntered towards them. The gorgeous woman that was seemingly carved from jade practically did not change her indifference at all, making the Lifeless Hall feel anxious. You use such despicable methods to participate in the star duels, even Chao Gai could not bear to watch you. If you dare take another step, the Lifeless Hall will most certainly fight to the last gasp. Ancestor Longevity shouted, his words revealing certain information. He did not want to fight her at all. Xian Lao stopped her steps and raised her head to look at everyone. The girl was so indifferent and beautiful. If it was not for the star crest on her forehead identifying her as a star master, Ancestor Longevity would be facing a star general and a demon cultivator. However, for a star master to feel like a star general, this was considerably even more thorny. Ancestor Longevity knew that this was one incredible foe, particularly that her cultivation had reached supervoid early stage. If he could, the old man truly thought that farther she stayed away, the better. Xian Lao apparently considered it for a moment. Then, she raised her hand without any hesitation. An enormous boom. The ground quaked. The Lifeless Hall disciples did not hesitate at all to fly on their swords. Following Ancestor Longevity's shout of courting death, the black cloud of gathered flying swords rolled towards her. The pervasive pitch-black sword shadows screamed as they rolled towards Xian Lao. As one of the 2 halls of the Azure Dragon Territory's 10 great sects, the Lifeless Hall's power naturally could not be underestimated. A sect's cultivation method in the Azure Dragon Territory was its central aspect. Consequently, regardless of cultivation or abilities, a sect's disciples developed their own school in the Azure Dragon Territory. Especially the Lifeless Hall's unique, Lifeless Sword chant, which was absolute. The center of the mass of rolling flying swords surprisingly slowly glowed with a fiery red light, as if it was burning. In the black sword chi, it appeared very abnormal. Ancestor Longevity also instantly brought out his own magic weapon. With a chuckle, he activated the magic weapon he was most proud of, the life-breaking sword. A completely black flying sword emerged. After Ancestor Longevity spat out a mouthful of evil chi, it suddenly grew, surprisingly enlarging more than tenfold. Like a gigantic maw, the chilling flying swords flashed with a clear light, as if they could cut even space apart, especially that life-breaking sword flitting about among them. A faint, black fog emerged. This was Lifeless 7 Apertures smoke. Ever since he had been defeated by Leisure Star Gongsun Huang's star magic at the Longevity Hall, Ancestor Longevity meticulously cultivated his own unique magic weapon when he returned to the sect. Now, if he faced the Leisure Star from that time once again, Ancestor Longevity was more confident. Yan Wudao did not dare be careless. He raised his divine intent and power with all his strength, forming 7 barriers to guard against any sneak attack from Xian Lao. Although Ancestor Longevity similarly was at supercluster peak, even the Yan Wudao who had reached the breakthrough bottleneck to supervoid stage with the 1,000-year tears was at an advantage compared to Ancestor Longevity. But against a White Tiger Star Master, Yan Wudao certainly was not at ease. Chong! 2. With a long ring as if a divine sword was unsheathed, the pervasive sword shadows filled the world, their power completely covering Xian Lao. Xian Lao was still indifferent. They did not see her make any sort of movements, as if she was waiting for death. Voila, 2. The sword chi in the space warped and weft. The walls and flooring cast from gold and jade were gouged with deep trenches by the flying swords, damaged very severely. Xian Lao instantly was obscured, no trace of her presence detectable at all. Even a supervoid early-stage cultivator could not possibly escape this situation completely unscathed. She dared to underestimate our lifeless hall. A cultivator from the lifeless hall jeered. Do not let down your guard. Yan Wudao was serious. The sword shadows parted. The cultivator that had just been talking by immediately turned dumbstruck. After their mountain toppling and ocean overturning sword array, the woman appeared seemingly unharmed, as if all their attacks just now were a ridiculous illusion. How is this possible? Impossible. Look out for her bracelet. Ancestor Longevity spotted the bracelet on Xian Lao's white wrist and immediately shouted. Xian Lao slowly held her hand before her chest. Her wrist was wrapped by a lustrous bracelet that faintly flickered. A powerful spiritual power leaked out that surprisingly did not allow the flying swords to approach. Go! Ancestor Longevity urged on his magic energy, chanting. The life-breaking sword swiftly slashed. The lifeless 7 apertures smoke was as thick as fog, obscuring all lines of sight, a deep abyss. Xian Lao's delicate hand gently waved. The bracelet leisurely flew off her wrist. The resplendent light flashed and slammed against the life-breaking sword. Stupid. Ancestor Longevity was inwardly pleased. His lifeless 7 apertures smoke was capable of corroding magic weapons, and that his opponent surprisingly used a magic weapon was much to his liking. Just as Ancestor Longevity was about to dissolve his opponent's magic weapon in one go. Bang! A crisp sound like that of shattering glass came from the sky. Ancestor Longevity's expression immensely changed. That bracelet's bright light was more dazzling than the sun, more penetrating than moonlight. This light glowed, and the black smoke completely dissipated. Then, the bracelet drew an arc that smashed into the life-breaking sword without stopping whatsoever. There was a bang. The indestructible life-breaking sword was unexpectedly snapped squarely down the middle by the bracelet. Its spiritual power was completely lost. The magic weapon that Ancestor Longevity had painstakingly forged all his life was unexpectedly turned into scrap in but an instant. Ancestor Longevity gasped and suddenly vomited blood. When the lifeless hall disciples saw this, they immediately united to once again use every kind of ability and millions of flying swords to surround her. The sword shadows clared her, which made Xian Lao slightly raise her eyebrows. The jade bracelet in midair became even brighter, as if the galaxies in the 9 firmaments were falling to the ground. The pinpricks of beautiful light were like stars. The bracelet seemed to hover in the air and release a galaxy. The center of this galaxy was all-inclusive, containing suns, moons, and stars within. The flying swords inside were illuminated by the starlight. Under its canopy, the sword's power was eliminated. All of the flying swords were completely sucked into the endless light the bracelet released. These were all life-cast flying swords of the cultivators, linked to the lives of their cultivators. When the flying swords broke, the lifeless hall's disciples screamed endlessly. All things bracelet. Ancestor Longevity was greatly astonished. For a magic weapon to be able to break his life-breaking sword as well as completely break millions of flying swords, this was unheard of in Liangshan continent. Seeing that bracelet was so dazzling, Ancestor Longevity immediately recalled that very recently, a furor over an all things bracelet that had displaced the 3 Clarities banner on the spirit sealing list. This is bad. We will die. Ancestor Longevity suddenly realized this idea, but just at this moment, everything was too late. When the seemingly heedless Xi and Lao had done away with all of their flying sword attacks with the all things bracelet, the woman suddenly moved. Her figure shuttled back and forth over the ground. Like light, her transience arrived in front of Ancestor Longevity. A spotlessly white palm thrust out. In the instant she attacked, Ancestor Longevity only felt the surrounding space and earth crumble. A formless prison made him unable to flee, and he was completely unprepared as he suffered Xi and Lao's palm. Powerful magic energy directly raved Ancestor Longevity's internal organs. The Ancestor Longevity that originally thought they could take on this opponent was astonished to discover this enemy was far more powerful than he had imagined. A supercluster cultivation was far from being as strong as a supervoid stage star master. Profound power swiftly and firmly froze Ancestor Longevity's whole body. No matter how he struggled, he was surprisingly unable to break free. No, Ancestor Longevity's eyes widened, unwilling as he looked at the apathetic woman in front of him. Confined within a circle. Xi and Lao gently retracted her palm. Ancestor Longevity's whole body crumbled away like clay. It was impossible to imagine that the Ancestor Longevity who had lived his whole life with great prudence and caution would die so feebly at this time, unable to withstand a single strike. Ancestral Master. The lifeless Hall disciples wailed. Let's go, quickly. Yen Wudao furiously shouted. Xi and Lao eyed him. Her figure immediately moved, and the all things bracelet and her palm struck at the same time. Yen Wudao flipped out the 6 paths plate. He grit his teeth, smiled and advanced. Stupa blackened flame, vermilion bird soaring cloud. Yi Futu's hands formed seals, and a fire bird shot out from his finger. Then, following the closing and opening motions of Yi Futu's hands, the blazing figure of the vermilion bird flew out from his body. The rolling flames headed towards a young girl. Long Nu was calm and composed, unhurried. Dust-washing sword mind. Long Nu pointed. The dust-washing flying sword's blue light magnified. Instantly, it seemed that countless arrows had been fired. Then, after they soared out, they all became sparkling flying sword shadows, each a half chi long that numbered 500 or 600. In their great numbers, they shot towards the vermilion bird. The fire of the vermilion bird was broken by the dust-washing sword mind, immediately crumbling. When the Yi Futu who was in mid-flight saw this scene, his cold expression showed surprise. So many sword lights approached at the same time. Let alone their might, just the numbers in this mountain of blades was enough to terrify anyone. Without much more thought, Yi Futu's escape light not only did not stop, it flashed and became even faster. But at the same time, more than 100 sword lights shot out from within the escape light to directly intercept these sparkling sword lights. I did not think that the son of the Grand Prince would surprisingly rely on help from the White Tiger Demon Kin. Crown Prince Futu, you disappoint me. Long Nu calmly said. These words struck a sore spot in Yi Futu's heart. The man coldly snorted, expressionlessly saying, as long as Futu can scale Maiden Mountain, so what if Futu even becomes one of the demon kin? As expected, you are already beyond redemption, Yi Futu. Long Nu pointed, and the flying swords advanced. Yi Futu released the Karma Fire flying swords to contest. One side was gentle water light, the other was fierce flame, an incomparable competition. 7th Princess rumored to live lavishly in the Crystal Dragon Palace, what qualifications do you have to lecture your servant? Yi Futu sneered. Then this highness shall lecture you, Yi Futu. A clear and bright laugh. A ray of cold light sneak attacked, but Yi Futu's reactions were extremely quick. Battle potential was aroused, and he evaded. A man of elegant and noble bearing appeared. Seeing that his forehead had a star crest, it was clear he was a star master as well. Here comes another person who has lived like a prince. Yi Futu sneered. Xie Chang'an laughed aloud. Yi Futu. Those white tiger territory demon cultivators, perhaps I cannot do anything against them, but as for you, he smiled craftily. Then, Xie Chang'an gazed at Long Nu. Your Highness Princess, let us join hands for now. Do not waste your breath on this traitor. Just kill him first for now. Long Nu slightly hesitated. Without another word, Xie Chang'an already was on the attack. How could you empty people ever understand the humiliation I went through? Yi Futu coldly spat out a sentence. Well said, Brother Futu, then allow your servant to help you. A call of praise, and then a graceful and carefree man appeared beside Yi Futu at the same time. He was none other than the wind spirit of the White Tiger's 7 spirit stars, Zhang Feng. The Crystal Dragon Palace's treasure banquet was Liangshan Continent's grand banquet, and because this banquet was absolutely safe, the majority of the star maidens in the star duels would attend to increase their strength before the start of the last phase, 3 heavenly books. But these 9th star duels had displayed millennial changes. The prehistoric Liao Emperor's Taiyi spherical heaven form array had become the nightmare of star generals. As far as these star generals without contracts, these loners, were concerned, this was unimaginable disaster. Yueying was one of them. The young girl knit her smoky brows, watching the scene in front of her, her expression as unflustered as ever, even if she was already targeted by the White Tiger Territory's demon kin. A fervent smile hung upon Mish Chili's lips, and his expression was wild and hungry as he stared at the woman in front of him. The young woman's garb was truly beautiful to the extreme. Wispy attire, a short cloak, and an upper garment that was like 2 lotus leaves half covered her snow-white breasts. Her deep cleavage was especially visible, and a resplendent piece of colored glass hung in the middle. Her lower body was dressed in a 100-pleat short skirt, and her white legs were wrapped in black thigh-high stockings, with her snow-white skin faintly visible underneath the black silk, full of allure. Finish off with a pair of multicolored boots, and the girl's whole appearance sparkled, very bewitching. Although he did not know which star general this girl was, to be able to be so beautiful with such boldness, Mish Chili had no doubt that if she consumed her star energy, his own star energy would inevitably skyrocket. What a pity, beautiful girl, that Chili does not have the twin stars button. Otherwise, I would have truly wanted to seize the chance to take you. Mish Chili clicked his tongue, his eyes turning craftily, debating to himself whether or not to call that snow woman Han Bing to take her. This train of thought was disdainfully dismissed. Who was he kidding? In the future, when they scaled Maiden Mountain, they would still be in a, you die, I live, situation. To give her another powerful star general, this truly was the act of someone who did not know how to write the word, death. Mish Chili took out an amulet. He raised it into the air, and it transformed into 5 flaming serpents, each chasing after another's tail. They released fire light, bearing their snake fangs. They bit at Yueying with visible venom on their fangs. This 5 snakes burning fire token was Mish Chili's life-cast magic weapon. Its power was not to be looked down upon. To be rolled by the 5 snakes, even if your cultivation was high, you would be smithereens, especially now when Yueying was already without any strength. Multicolored light rolled, and a peacock with its tail fanned out appeared out of thin air. Its feathers were like fans, releasing multicolored rainbow lights that stopped the 5 serpents. Star Beast? Mish Chili was taken aback. Luo Xia, go. Yueying coldly said. The red peacock that was like a multicolored flash screeched. It radiated multicolored light, and those dots that looked like eyes on its feathers opened one by one. Each and every one of them fired jewel-like light. Mish Chili sneered. Similarly, when his star general saw her contractor in danger, she also summoned her star beast. A gigantic alligator-like star beast completely covered in red scales appeared. This beast's name was Sudden Thunder, too, swift as a clap of thunder. Its jaw could open wide enough to swallow anything whole. Sudden Thunder pounced towards the peacock. Nevertheless, Yueying's star beast was formidable. Its crest released multicolored light that easily obstructed Sudden Thunder. Then, the torrential light squeezed Sudden Thunder into screeching. This seemingly exceptionally fierce star beast was killed by the multicolored light in a matter of seconds. Eat my flame Emperor Whip. Mish Chili formed hand seals and used an ability. The crackling whip whistled. The multicolored light continued to sweep, and Mish Chili proceeded to form several hand seals. The whip struck with earth-shattering power. The red peacock unleashed powerful multicolored light that stopped the whip. Mish Chili used another ability. His figure moved, and his body transformed into the shape of a fire serpent that suddenly lunged. The multicolored light was unable to stop Mish Chili's full power attack. It persisted for a moment before it immediately shattered. Losing the protection of the multicolored light, Luo Xia thus lost its greatest asset. Mish Chili flicked out his snake tongue. He grabbed Luo Xia and tore it apart. Then, his other hand plunged towards Yueying's head with powerful fire spirit magic energy. The Yueying who was trapped by the Taiyi spherical heaven form array had no way to run, but she faced this inevitably deadly palm with no fear, as if life or death mattered not to her. Just as Yueying was about to starfall, suddenly, a dragon's figure flew over. That dragon shadow wrapped around Yueying's whole body and stopped all of Mish Chili's attacks. Then, the dragon cried, and a black drill attacked, like a pitch-black dragon rolling. When Mish Chili saw this magic weapon was out of the ordinary, he did not dare be careless. He activated his powers to ward it away and retreat. "Little sister, are you well?" A voice as gentle as jade rang in Yueying's ears. The slightly puzzled Yueying looked to the voice. A woman as beautiful as a poem walked daintily over. She had a face like a lotus, with long shapely brows, eyes like twinkling stars, as if she walked out of a painting, a subtle fragrance upon her. The woman's pure white forehead had a green star crest, but it was somewhat odd that she could not distinguish if this woman was a star general or a star master. However, upon seeing her, Yueying nevertheless felt a very familiar feeling. This feeling could only be possessed by the Sisters of Maiden Mountain's 108 Star Maidens. Star General. Even the aloof Yueying could not help but be startled. In the Taiyi spherical heaven form array, even the powerful pilgrim Wusong would find it difficult to take a single step, but the woman in front of her showed completely no effect despite standing in the array. "Who are you?" Yueying's tone sunk, and she filled with hostility. This woman was none other than Qingxi. Song Qingxi's hand held the Justice on Heaven's Behalf Uprising gathering banner with ease inside the array. She slightly smiled. "Little sister, I trust you have been well since last we met. Elder sister merely wants to help little sister." Saying this, Song Qingxi turned. Mish Chili used 1,000 snakes leaving cave, and 1,000 fire serpents emerged like smoke, wrapping around Qingxi's Yazi saber. Leader Star Song Qingxi did not give him any breathing room. She pointed her white hand. Her clothes fluttered, and her hair shifted. Her whole body glowed with multicolored light, displaying around her 7 differently shaped magic weapons. The 9 dragons seal had emerged. The fish dragon pot flew out, looping in the air. It suddenly increased in size, and the gorgeous and exquisite fish dragon pot let out a cloud of clear light. The fish dragon pot could suck in the 5 magics and 5 spirits. Mish Chili's fire serpent ability just happened to be categorized as a fire spirit. It was unable to resist for long before being sucked into the pot. Mish Chili's complexion changed. He hastily released the 5 serpents burning fire token. The 5 fire serpents swelled in size and were much fiercer than before. Qingxi once again beckoned with her hand. The Pu Lao Bell and the Bai Shi seal of the 9 dragons' magic weapon attacked. The former released cacophonic ringing that disturbed Mish Chili's thoughts while the latter pressed down like an enormous mountain. 9 Dragon Seal. Mish Chili shouted. This magic weapon was classified as an absolute in Liangshan. Legend said that it had developed out of the 3 heavenly books. How could Miss Chili manage against this? The Yazzie Saber's saber light ground Miss Chili into a very sorry figure. 3 purple star magic weapons, Miss Chili could not last against this. His cheeks were flush with anger. He never thought that such a powerful star master would unexpectedly come here. Gazing at Qingxi's picturesque beauty, his body shuddered with fury. Red light swelled, and a giant flaming python charged out of the flames. His eyes were like copper, his fangs very sharp. He unexpectedly manifested his true body. Qingxi's expression wore a slight smile. The 4th purple star magic weapon Swan and Eye image immediately moved. The Swan and Eye divine lion on the sculpture immediately grew 100-fold in size. Its lion roar was a roll of thunder, bearing a suffocating astral wind. It bit its way towards Miss Chili forcefully. Miss Chili saw that things bode ill for him and thus released fierce flames before turning around and retreating. Seeing his sorry figure scuttle away, Qingxi remained unmoved, as if this was not worth a mention. Her gentle gaze completely focused on Yueying. Now that the situation is on the brink of crisis, the sisters must unite. Little sister, are you willing to ascend Maiden Mountain with Qingxi's Uprising? Uprising, Yueying's brow wrinkled. She stared straight at Qingxi's complexion and suddenly recalled something. She was immediately shocked. Impossible, could you be leader Star Songjiang? Qingxi nodded. Impossible, how could such a thing happen, do not deceive me. Yueying sneered. It is a long story. After little sister uprises with Qingxi, there will naturally be an explanation. As for the danger before us, Qingxi asks little sister join the uprising. This heavenly star birth banner can protect little sister's safety. Qingxi shook her head, warmly advising. And if I refuse? Yueying countered. Qingxi smiled. Whatever apprehensions little sister may have, Qingxi naturally will explain. Neither will Qingxi force you. In the future star duels, Qingxi naturally stands with the sisters. Qingxi gazed at Miss Chili forming hand seals. Several of the 9 dragons' magic weapons attacked even more fiercely. Yueying noticed that the prostrate snake ruler had no intentions of leaving. Yueying looked and discovered that the Qingxi in front of her who called herself an elder sister was indeed full of familiarity. Her words were also full of sincerity. If she had attempted to do so, then killing her would have been no more difficult than blowing dust away right now. Even if she used her uprising, this did not sound like a bad thing. Qingxi, how many sisters are in your uprising? Yueying asked. There is already Qin Ming, Jin Daijian, Dai Zong, Sun Xian and many other sisters. Qingxi replied. Xin Yue. She has joined your uprising. Yueying's eyes narrowed, and she showed a smile. This was also for little sister Xin Yue who requested Qingxi to come find you. Can the uprising truly end the star duels? Yueying continued to ask. Is this not precisely the sole wish of US sisters? Qingxi's slight smile made Yueying slightly moved. Good. The girl carefreely looked through the heavens and laughed. Sole wish, well said. Compared to a star master, at least you still make me feel happy, Qingxi. Qingxi pursed her thin lips, a luminous flicker in her eyes. Uprising, it sounds very interesting. Yueying softly grunted. Qingxi smiled. Does little sister acquiesce? Just let me see how your uprising is. Qingxi slightly nodded. She waved the heavenly star birth banner. The banner flowed with resplendent light. A dimness manifested, and then flickering stars, showing the bright light of a starry sky. Beams of light revolved, gathering into a beautiful, graceful star crest that was the exact same as Yueying's. Qingxi waved the heavenly star birth banner at Yueying. A speck of light entered into Yueying's star cest. Within that boundless ocean of consciousness, Yueying suddenly felt a sort of familiar feeling, as if something was calling out to her. Yueying froze and immediately realized what this feeling was. At this moment, so long as she wholeheartedly agreed, it seemed a contract would be reached. I will help you, Qingxi, Yueying proudly raised her chin. Her eyes emitted a lion-like might and spirit. This was a manner and character only a super martial general could possess. Qingxi knew. She was perhaps one step closer to ending the star duels, but this was far from enough. Qingxi subconsciously gazed towards a certain place of the Crystal Dragon Palace. Past the pervasive lights, the obscuring smoke and omnipresent domineering auras, she saw the steadfast loyalty of sisters trapped in the array, not conceding defeat at all. Those earnest expressions made Qingxi moved. But Qingxi knew those sisters belonged to neither her nor him. Qingxi's heart slightly sighed. The Crystal Dragon Palace was under a bloody carnage all around. Star Masters were currently waging a war, however, there were nevertheless many Supervoid cultivators spectating from afar. It was excusable for these Supervoid cultivators to be unable to interfere in the battle between four top-notch cultivators involving Northern Darkness as Fish and Emperor Liang, but against the White Tiger Territory 7 spirits, they had an attitude of watching the world burn. Worried about the White Tiger 7 Spirit Star Master's status, these Supervoid cultivators did not take action, so as to avoid breaking the Star Duel's rules. Other than someone like Yueying whose fury was unrestrained as he conducted an open slaughter, the majority of cultivators stayed a distance away, calmly watching this rarely seen sight in 1,000 years of Star Duels. Yet one Supervoid cultivator did not have such thoughts. A girl wearing a dark purple skirt and stepping with spry and graceful steps appeared. The gazes of the cultivators that were originally watching the other Star Master battles could not help but have their gazes drawn over. Upon seeing her, their originally calm expressions became astonished one after another. What, a Supervoid stage Star Master? Could she be the Ling Yan princess? Are you blind? To not even recognize the Ling Yan princess, do you not see that she is wearing the Purple Firmament Immortal Palace's rainbow raiment? The Purple Firmament Immortal Palace's Star Master is surprisingly Supervoid stage. The corner of Fox of voracious admiration whom hung a seemingly vague charm. Originally, she had wanted to reveal her identity after the 3 heavenly books. It was a pity that she did not calculate that the Taiyi spherical heaven form array would appear. Even if she was unwilling, her star crest was prominently displayed within the array. Humi had originally wanted to star duel once with the Ling Yan princess Xiao Hanyan, who was acclaimed as the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 Star Master. Humi's divine intent swept through, not finding her, leaving Humi feeling quite disappointed. Seeing that the other Star Masters were battling the White Tiger 7 spirits, Humi was loath to interfere. She had a personality like Su Jingshu's. Only someone who was strong could stir her interest. Her gaze indifferently swept about when Humi's eyes lit up. She had found her opponent, Mi Taisui. Mi Taisui was currently sitting upright on a prayer mat in meditation. The murderous auras that pervaded his surroundings became gentle breezes when they drew near him. He was tranquil to the peak, someone unfathomable. His old man's forehead similarly twinkled with a star crest, faintly changing. An aged Star Master drew the curiosity of many cultivators. Several reckless cultivators vainly attempted to seek a bit of success, however, before they even drew close, divine thunder fell from the heavens that utterly destroyed them. After this, the other cultivators did not dare approach. Beside the old man similarly sat a lightly made-up woman. She wore a large white robe, with her bangs freely hanging. Her slightly closed eyes made for a contemplative expression. Suddenly, an enormous boom from the sky interrupted Li Taisui and Yang Zijin's thoughts. A massive seal flew towards them, as giant as the 5 sacred mountains. Upon the seal, a black turtle, dragon and snake soared about. Clear light was released, and its power pressed towards Li Taisui. Even a Supervoid cultivator was unable to contend against the black turtle seal directly. Li Taisui opened his eyes, and he furrowed his brows. He gently waved his left hand, and a paper fan appeared. He fanned it, and several bolts of thunder flew out of the fan. Along the way, they became several fanged and clawed thunder dragons. The black turtle seal and the thunder dragons clashed, producing a gigantic explosion. The black turtle seal in all cases was a supreme-grade prehistoric spirit treasure. It released clear light, and the thunder dragons disintegrated immediately after a mere few seconds. Li Taisui was not flustered as he rocked the fan. Fan shadows linked together, and the fragmented thunderbolts once again gathered into a lightning net that wrapped around the black turtle seal. The thunder was wild, overpowering. The black turtle seal spun in midair, restoring itself to its original form before flying back. Li Taisui narrowed his eyes. The paper fan crackled with arcs of electricity. The old man shook the fan, looking at a young girl without saying a word. Only when Humi drew closer did Yang Zijin finally open her eyes that were even deeper than the starry sky. The black turtle seal gently landed in Humi's palm. Humi clicked her tongue to herself, covering her gentle smile. Senior presumably is the leader of the White Tiger 7 Spirit Stars then? An old star master. Humi actually has never seen one before. She was completely unafraid of the old man that concealed his chi aura. The fox of voracious admiration calmly showed her gracefulness. It has been very long since someone was able to be aloof in front of this old man. Li Taisui smiled amiably. Senior, are you making fun of Humi? Humi saw Senior bow your head to that prehistoric Liao Emperor a moment ago. Humi blinked, her tone carrying a bit of mockery. Li Taisui's smile was even more profound. What this old man said is true. It has been very long since a cultivator like you dared to ridicule this old man. You flatter me. Senior must not be angry. Humi smiled. Of the renowned Azure Dragon Territory Star Masters, only you can be considered passable, miss. Truly, reality does not live up to the name. On the surface, Li Taisui appeared to be recovering, but in secret, he had already spread his divine intent to cover the Crystal Dragon Palace. He was secretly monitoring all battles. Yi Futu and Sung Feng were working together to suppress. Yueying had revealed his true body wand was surrounded and had incurred everyone's wrath. Xiang Qinxing had taken an enormous advantage over 3 feeble female cultivators. Han Bing was being entangled by a female cultivator, etc. Every move and gesture was within the palm of Li Taisui's hand. Even when his divine intent had detected many hidden star generals, they were far too weak. Li Taisui disdained to lift a hand against them. Suddenly seeing a star master as eye-catching as Humi, it was no wonder that Li Taisui would show a satisfied expression. However, beneath his satisfaction was an even stronger rejection of the influence of the Azure Dragon Territory's star masters. Humi did not retort. The Azure Dragon Territory was fine, as was the White Tiger Territory. Star Masters, in the end, represented only themselves. As for right and wrong, good and bad, human and demon, everything was a fleeting cloud. Since this is the case, Humi shall arrogantly challenge Senior on behalf of the Azure Dragon Territory. But if Senior loses, Humi wonders if it is possible for Senior to pull back your forces. The star duel originally should be after the 3 heavenly books. This is what a star duel is, do you not agree? Li Taisui laughed aloud and praised her. This old man Li Taisui today shall agree with you, but little girl, if you lose, then look out for your own life. Humi smiled. Li Taisui shook the paper fan, activating 9 turns widespread thunderbolt. The sky and earth turned, and blue thunder fell. Humi's sleeves fluttered, and several wisps of purple smoke flew out from the sleeves. Then, this purple smoke looped around Humi's whole body. The purple smoke quickly spread like a heavenly canopy, and when the blue thunder boomed against the canopy, the cracks of firewood could seemingly be heard. The inside of the purple smoke twinkled, tottering. Li Taisui pinched his fingers together. Blue thunder as wide as a bucket was about to forcefully break through Humi's defensive ability. Humi's expression turned grim. Her expression changed as the purple smoke was quickly breached by the blue thunder. The smoke dissipated, revealing an absolutely beautiful flying sword formation. This was the heaven-filling purple firmament flying swords, 9 palaces heart-protecting array. 2. Li Taisui wore a slight smile and nodded to himself. He continued to wave the paper fan. Thunder suddenly rose, transforming into a tidal wave. As far as Humi could see, thunderbolts became cavalry barreling at her. The powerful thunder and lightning leveled a range of several li arcs of lightning struck Humi, and the girl felt her whole body was in scorching pain. This was Li Taisui's trump card. Thunder moves 9 heavens. 3. Humi, look out! Su Jingshu nervously shouted. Humi's brows locked tight. Her legs could not help but take a step back, for she already had thoughts of retreating. You must pay the price for underestimating this old man, a very wretched price, a benevolent voice transmitted through the waves of thunder. Li Taisui's paper fan once again waved. Under Humi's feet, a purple magic circle suddenly appeared. This array was full of ancient characters, and the inside had the markings of a strange beast. Countless purple arcs of lightning spurt out of the array. These arcs were no harmful, but Humi immediately felt the surrounding space be disturbed by this lightning, incapable of being moved. The purple lightning formed a cage. Humi found she had no way out. Lightning flash thunder barrier. What a powerful technique! Humi drew in a breath. Her whole body felt cold. This was the first time she had a premonition of her mortality. She was unable to keep her composure anymore. The fox of voracious admiration quickly formed hand seals, stringing them together continuously, an incantation pouring forth endlessly from her mouth. Humi promptly raised the black turtle seal again. The 3-inch black turtle seal suddenly expanded and rose into the air. It was the size of a mountain, dimming the seas. The seal's bottom had the words, Black Turtle, and its oppressive spiritual aura heralded the black turtle's emergence into the world. Humi practically imbued all of her magic energy into the black turtle seal. The black turtle seal hurtled straight down at the Thunder Moves 9 Heavens magic. With a bang, Thunder Moves 9 Heavens surprisingly swallowed the black turtle seal like a great wave. The thunder's clear light was endless. Humi continued to form hand seals, and suddenly, there was a bang, an ear-splitting noise. The black turtle seal finally shattered Thunder Moves 9 Heavens, and at the same time, this powerful prehistoric spirit treasure surprisingly lost its spiritual powers in totality, becoming a 3-inch sized seal. It lost its sharpness, and Humi's body shuddered. She vomited blood. Clearly, this was not good to endure, but the girl completely did not relax. Once the Thunder Moves 9 Heavens was destroyed, she immediately recalled the black turtle seal, looking upon this large seal with distress. Go! Humi shouted. Li Taisui's lightning flash thunder barrier was capable of completely trapping someone in an instant. A strong person could endure this, but a single instant was enough to decide life and death. Without this instant of Thunder Moves 9 Heavens, and without Yang Zijin's attacks of instantaneous speed, by the time the force passed, Humi had enough time to break through. The heaven-filling purple firmament's flying sword's light broke. Relying on just her supervoid cultivator's star energy, she easily broke the array. But even so, the use of the black turtle seal just now and the Thunder Moves 9 Heavens left Humi's vitality greatly harmed. She wiped the blood at the corner of her mouth. The fox of voracious admiration's expression was even colder. In her heart, she knew that even before the battle had begun, her chances of victory had already slipped away. Humi, why did you not use the Supreme Ultimate Diagram? Su Jingshu was both angry and confused as she asked this. If she used the Supreme Ultimate Diagram, she could have easily broke free of the opponent's attack. Humi could even have seized the initiative. Perhaps she could have even turned the tables, but what made Su Jingshu perplexed was that Humi would rather brave the risk of using the black turtle seal instead of using the Supreme Ultimate Diagram. Humi slightly sighed as she looked at the completely drained black turtle seal. Because she had the supreme ultimate diagram, the publicly recognized #1 prehistoric spirit treasure in Liangshan continent, the fox of voracious admiration did not have many important magic treasures. She did not expect that at the critical moment, this black turtle seal she seized from the purple thunder monster's lover would surprisingly save her life. Hearing Su Jingshu's question, "Who am I?" gazed at the prayer mat that Li Taisui sat upon with odd coldness. "I cannot use it." The prayer mat this Li Taisui sits upon could be the current #1 on the spirit sealing list, the good fortune prayer mat. The supreme ultimate diagram must be used second to launch a surprise attack. If we lose our chance, we will die without doubt. Guardian star Su Jingshu was shaken. If Humi could have seen her, then she would have seen unprecedented shock on Gold Lancer Su Ning's expression. To still be calculating the confrontation of the supreme ultimate diagram against the good fortune prayer mat at the crux of life and death, Su Jingshu admitted to herself she did not have the courage for this. If Su Xing could see this, he probably would be intrigued as well. But if you do not use the supreme ultimate diagram, we will never defeat him. Su Jingshu's worries were very grim. The old man in front of them was very powerful, she could sense it. Yes, Humi's worried brows creased even more deeply. "Little youngster, eat this old man's lightning once more." Li Taisui smiled and waved the paper fan. A bolt of lightning instantly crackled in front of Humi. Humi barely defended it, and her internal injuries once again grew more severe. The girl endured the blood rushing into her throat. She pointed her hand and shouted. 10 sides complete annihilation sword array. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.